From the StreamYard studios on YouTube, this is Jeopnerdy. And here's your host, John DeMarco.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Jeopnerdy. Glad you could be here, despite some distractions that somebody is trying to level against the show right before it begins. However, joining us as always is our co-host, Professor Brainy Specs.
Yes, I'm perturbed, John.
I can understand why.
Yeah, people are trying to hurt our show. It's not right.
Fortunately, despite these efforts at sabotage, we have several people already waiting backstage, so we'll be bringing them up shortly.
They did not succeed. We're going to win. We're
Indeed.
champions, John. We're champions.
Exactly. And speaking of champions, let's say a quick hello to the people who are joining us in the chat. Looks like first was T-Dowd. Glad you can make it by. Welcome also to Jay Aldridge. Thomas Potts is here talking about this underhanded plot to undermine the show, which, as we said, did not succeed. But we're glad you're here, Thomas. So welcome also to Tokyo Trekker. He just had an excellent stream over on his channel a little while ago. Just going to check it out later if you're interested. Let's say hello to Cinnabon Bunny. Hello also to Mikey. Glad you're here. Greetings, OmnicastNet. And hello also to Brad Wolf. We're glad you could all join us this evening.
Yes, welcome everyone.
We'll go and bring up our contestants for round one, but we have 3 rounds as usual. So if you'd like to be in one of those later rounds, go ahead and click on that link that's pinned at the top of the chat. Filling the returning champion role for our first round will be our friend Jay. Greetings.
Holy crap.
Glad you could join us, sir. And for your 2 challengers, let's bring up, we got Winner Thomas and Berta Prey 5.
I'm dead.
Hello, world.
How you doing, Bird?
Not bad. I paused the playback of a certain show to come here and play that.
We appreciate that.
Yes, thank you very much.
And Kapla, Bird.
Kapla.
Praying for you, buddy.
Thank you. Nephew O'Prey is here, so I'm muting and unmuting quickly.
I understand.
Understandable.
Are you ready to get started for round 1, gentlemen?
Yes.
Yes.
Winner?
Who?
You.
Who?
Who knows? I'll take that as a yes. You're ready to go.
Makes sense to me.
All right. Well, let's play Jeopnerdy.
And doing my impression of the professor. Indeed.
Our first category is Japanese history and culture.
Crap.
Starship classifications. I'm going to name the ship, and you tell me what type of ship it is called in a specific episode, which I will also tell you. Dedication plaques. This is our visual category.
Oh, good.
Awards.
Huh?
And the Gamesters of Triskelion.
Oh, crap.
We have a comment in the private chat, John. I don't know if you want to mention it or not.
It sounds like somebody who likes to stir up trouble, so probably better ignore it at this point.
You have a point.
Even though he's 100% correct.
We haven't even
what?
seen the clues
I
yet, so how
can't
could you
see it.
even know that?
Indeed.
I can't even
All right,
see
Jay.
the chat, so I don't know what they're talking about.
It's probably better that way.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Jay, you are
Something
the
like that.
returning champion, so you go first, my friend.
Alrighty. I don't know what the question's going to be, so I'll try dedication plaques for 100.
You're going to identify the ship.
What is the USS Enterprise NX-01?
Well, I'll give you that one, although technically that ship is not USS.
Well, Enterprise.
That is true. That is true. Winter Thomas, you are up next.
Dedication plaques for 500.
All right, going for the big value
Yeah.
here.
What is a San Paulo?
That is correct.
My
Very
God, the
good.
easiest $500 question in the
Yeah.
history of the show.
Brazil gave it away.
All right, Bird, you're up.
Let's do Japanese history and culture for 300.
Keiko gave Miles a silk handkerchief, a medieval Japanese design, before he faced off against Julian in this sport.
It's basically racquetball, but what did they call it? Pass.
Jay.
What is racquetball?
That's it.
Really? They called it racquetball?
They called it racquetball.
Son of a bitch.
And you're being called out, Bird, in the private chat.
I didn't even know that was Japanese.
It's not. The reference to Japanese was the medieval Japanese
Handkerchief.
scarf that she gave him, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
This is really Japanese adjacent.
If you say so. Jay, it is your turn.
Dedication plaques for 400. It's not the Enterprise. Pass.
Winter Thomas.
Pass.
Bird.
I'm going to pass, but I'm going to throw out Constellation.
But you officially passed? Yeah, that was the Defiant.
He ran out of time anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I passed. I'm sorry. I thought you heard me.
You did pass. I did catch that, Bird.
And sorry about that. Anyone who's trying to enter, it looks like our studio is currently full. You can try it back a little bit later.
Winter Thomas, it is your turn.
Dedication plaques for 200. Oh, what was that ship called? What is the Avenger?
That's right.
Oh,
Nicely done. Bird.
Do dedication plaques for 300.
That's 6 and 5. You could see it.
You can't read it. What
I
is
got it with
USS Relativity?
Very good, Bird. That's correct.
I got it
Simeon
without
should
even
be
being
tell you
able
right
to
away.
read it.
Yeah, I guess I should have just looked at the symbol.
Very good. Bird's on the board. Jay, it is your turn.
Awards for 200.
Cisco received this award for personal acts of bravery displayed during the battle to retake Deep Space Nine.
What is the Christopher Pike Medal?
I think that's good enough.
All right, Thomas, it is your turn.
Starship classifications for 100.
The USS Defiant in the search. In other words, what was the ship's official classification?
What is a warship?
That was more the unofficial term. You know another chance for what it was officially called.
No, pass.
Bird.
Officially a scout, if I recall correctly.
That's
What is
your
a
answer?
scout? Yes.
That is incorrect.
God damn it.
Jay.
What is a cargo vessel?
That is incorrect.
Oh,
It was officially designated as an escort.
escort. Escort.
That's good, Brad Wolf. Bird, it is your turn.
Let's do awards for 100.
As of 2267, his commendations included the Legion of Honor, Awards of Valor, and being decorated by Starfleet surgeons.
Very much going to put it right now. That's that we could. Yeah, bring it to mommy. Please.
Who is Dr. McCoy?
That's right.
Well done, Bird. Jay, it is your turn.
300 for awards.
At the age of 24, he won the Nobel and Z. Magnus prizes for his development of duotronics.
Who is Richard Daystrom?
That is correct.
And we have a tie. Even Jaren's getting on you guys in the chat. Winter Thomas, it is your turn.
Starship classifications for 200.
The alternate USS Enterprise D from yesterday's Enterprise.
What is a battleship?
That is correct.
Bird, it's your turn.
To Japanese history for 100.
In 1937, the Briori kidnapped many people from Earth, including a Japanese soldier and this famous pilot.
Who is Amelia Earhart?
That's right.
Well done. Jay, it's your turn.
Awards for 400.
Captain Kirk's inestimable record included the palm leaf from this peace mission.
I'm a blank pass.
Winner Thomas.
Pass.
Birdo, Prey 5.
Pass.
That was the Axonar
Ah.
piece.
I was thinking Axonar.
Yes, Stephen, the room is currently full. After game one is complete, maybe there will be some spots that open up. You can try again. Winner Thomas, it is your turn.
Starfleet classifications 300.
Oh, crap.
All right, Thomas, you have the lead at 1,800 points. How much of that would you like to bet?
800.
All right, for 800.
Dang it.
The USS Enterprise from the Star Trek III Security Alert.
What is a heavy cruiser?
You got it.
Nicely done. Bird, it's your turn.
Do Japanese history for 200.
For Chakotay's date with Valerie Archer, this officer offered to recommend a nice Japanese diplomat on the Embarcadero.
Pass.
Jay.
It was Harry Kim.
That is incorrect.
Dang it.
Thomas.
Who is Janeway?
You got it.
Oh, wow. I was thinking
Jay?
it was either Harry Kim or Tom Paris. Okay. Classification for 500.
The USS Renegade in Conspiracy.
Renegade. What is frigates?
Very good.
Well done. And that closed the gap. Thomas, your lead has been cut into, but it's your turn.
Starship classifications 400.
The USS Columbia from Star Trek The Motion Picture.
What is a scout?
That is correct.
Mm-hmm.
Well done. Bird, your turn.
That's Japanese history for 400.
Archer compared the imprisonment of Suliban by the Tandarans to this internment camp that held Japanese American citizens during World War II.
They had names. Pass.
Indeed.
Jay.
I forgot what George Takei called it. Pass.
Thomas.
What is Manzanar?
Bingo.
That's it.
Dang, dude.
Thomas is on fire. Maybe you should go on vacation more often, Thomas. Jay, it is your turn.
Cinnabon's right at what it should have been called, but you know.
Awards 500.
In recognition of the Federation's first slipstream drive, Chakotay figured that Voyager's crew would be nominated for this award.
Okay. Jay, are you there?
Pass.
Thomas.
Pass.
Bird.
I will also pass. I assume it's got to be a Cochrane.
You would be correct about that.
Ah.
I'm surprised no one got that. Well, Bird, you practically had it. You just didn't
I
answer.
know. I missed like 5 things I knew already. This game. Some might suspect I've been paid to throw the game.
Hmm.
I think he just wants to get back to Strange New World.
I doubt that. Thomas, it is your turn.
The game serves a Triskelion for 100.
He assured Dr. McCoy that he was chasing the Enterprise's missing crew members, not some wild aquatic fowl.
Who is Spock?
That's right.
Bird.
Same category for 200.
The captives forced to fight each other for the amusement of the providers were referred to by this term.
I'm sorry, pass.
Jay.
Pass.
Thomas.
Pass.
Oh, they were called thralls.
Oh, I thought you were looking for the game.
Jay.
500 for Japanese.
When Chef became sick, Hoshi took charge of the galley, and she fixed this traditional Japanese dish based on her grandmother's recipe.
I can't remember what she called it. Pass.
Thomas.
You know, I think there was a reason why cinnamon was skipped over for this round, but for rigging, but pass.
Bird.
Wasn't it miso soup? What is miso?
I'm afraid not.
God damn it.
We called it Odin.
Oh, then.
I like that, Brad Wolf.
And it's cream of wheat.
Thomas. It is your turn, and there was no rigging going on, Thomas.
Uh-huh.
I
500.
actually wanted him to play.
Indeed.
500?
Yeah.
This character was played by Joseph Ruskin in his first of many Star Trek roles.
Pass.
Bird.
Who is Galt?
You got it.
Dang.
And Bird, it's your turn.
300?
300.
The providers wagered this currency on the outcome of the fights on Triskelion.
Pass.
Pass.
Jay. Thomas.
What are Quatloos?
Exactly.
Dang.
Wow, Jay, Bird, I'm surprised you didn't get that one. Jay, you get the final clue, my friend.
When McCoy offered to beam down to Triskelion, Spock recalled this biblical individual who entered a dangerous situation with only his faith, but he welcomed the Doctor's company.
clue is Daniel.
That is correct.
Well done. Well done, my friend. All right, kind of enter the Cosmobuzz link into the private chat. And let's head on over to final Jeopnerdy. And our category is
To Pring.
the three of you would consider how much you would like to bet on that category. Tokyo, I think you know the answer to that question.
Says room does not exist.
Yeah, that's
right.
a bad link.
Well, I don't know why, but
How about
Let me
computers downloading something from a public library? What is this?
I don't know what you did, Thomas. Try that one. All right, there we go. Thank you, Omnicast. Right, and Jay, are you able to use the private chat?
No, it won't let me type.
All right. Jay, how much are you betting?
0.
All right, let's bring up our clue.
Spock and T'Pring were bonded by their parents' arrangement in a ceremony when they were this age.
Players, you have 30 seconds. Kapla! Jay, what is your response?
7 years old.
Okay. All right. Berto Prey 5, you had 900 points entering final Jeopnerdy. Your response to the clue?
6 years old. Unfortunately, that is incorrect.
How much did you bet? Nothing. Leaving you at 900 points. Jay had 3,000 points entering final Jeopardy. Your response?
7 is the correct response.
And how much did you bet? 0 again. You're also at the same score. You're at 3,000. Winner Thomas, you were in the lead at 4,500 points. And your response?
What is 12? Then they never saw each other for many years? Well, the second part is correct, but it was not at the age of 12.
I'm sorry, Thomas. How much did you bet? 500 points, giving you a total of 4,000, and you are the champion, Thomas. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thomas.
See? You are a winner, Thomas.
Exactly.
Nicely done,
Well,
gentlemen.
Now,
Good
would
game.
you like to return in the second round, Thomas, to defend your championship?
No, I nominate Cinnabon to take my place.
Okay.
Take care, guys. Thank you for again.
Thanks for playing.
Thank
Bird.
you.
y'all.
Thank you for playing, Bird.
Enjoyed it.
Okay, then I guess we'll bring up our Proxy Thomas. Welcome to I Hope You're Happy.
I have to change my name then.
And we'll bring up Tokyo. And also waiting patiently backstage. Greetings to Omnicast.
Hey, hey.
Glad you could join us.
Absolutely.
Also, if anyone has been trying to get backstage, you might want to try again now. There might be some openings there if you want to go ahead and click that link again.
All right, I think we're set. Thanks for coming up to play, all three of you.
I'm excited.
Are you?
Waiting all week for this.
I knew all
Are
the
you-
answers for round one, so this will be a rigged round where I don't know any of them.
Sure.
Yeah, keep spewing your conspiracy theories, Proxy.
Completely true.
Uh-huh. Well, if the three of you are ready to play, let's play Jeopnerdy.
Let's
Let's do it.
Racist category we have this time.
None, just like last time.
Chinese history.
Japanese names.
Oh my god. Oh shoot.
Starships visiting DS9.
Ooh.
Fictional Earth locations. You're going to identify the location from an image. Speeches. I'm going to read you a quote. You're going to tell me who's giving the speech.
Interesting.
And the House of Quark.
All right. Proxy with an I, Thomas.
All right.
You get
House
to go
of Quark
first.
for 100. It better be Temec because I watched your video.
Rule of acquisition 286. When this customer leaves, it's all over.
Oh, what? What? Well, I mean, when this customer leaves, man, it's going to be really easy. I'm going to be really angry. I want to say Morn, but why would they make a rule of acquisition just for Morn? So we have to pass.
Tokyo.
Pass.
Omnicast.
Who is Morn?
That is correct.
Whatever. Why would they make a rule of acquisition just for Morn? That makes no sense.
Why not?
Well,
That was
So
a
every
rule that
Ferengi knows who Morn
There-
is.
There is no
Whatever.
286. He made it up.
Ring.
Quark made that up on the spot.
Yeah.
I guess you just were not paying attention to the episode, like always.
Yeah, well,
Tokyo.
I'm waiting for Temec to show up.
Tokyo,
Japanese
your turn.
names for 500.
Suffering from the effects of polywater intoxication, this Enterprise assistant chief engineer pulled out the isolinear chips that controlled the warp drive.
Oh my god. Stupid fat guy.
Wow.
Who is chubby Asian?
Pass.
Omnicast.
Who is Cheng?
That is incorrect.
Ugh.
Proxy with an I.
Who is Jim?
I'm going to need a last name.
What? You didn't say anything about the last name.
Last
And I
I checked,
passed.
Jim is not a Japanese name. Last
Yeah,
I
well,
checked.
it's his name. Because Wesley said, "Hi, Jim."
We always require a last name unless we specify.
Then I have to pass then.
Name was Shimoda.
Oh. Jeez.
I should get half points for knowing his name was Jim.
Omnicast.
Let's see. Starships visiting DS9 for 300, please.
Picked up the Dax symbiont for transport back to Trill after Jadzia's death.
What is the Starship Destiny?
That is correct.
Nicely done. I didn't remember that. Proxy.
Still searching for Tamek, so we're going for 500.
With the bar struggling, Quark mused that he should have gone into this profession since it had better hours, more money, and less scruples.
Man, I want to say weapon smuggling because that was his cousin's thing. But we will pass, I guess.
Tokyo.
Probably
Was weapon smuggling?
Yeah.
I'm afraid not.
All right, good.
Omnicast.
Thank you
Yeah,
for
I'll
listening to you.
I'll pass this one.
That was insurance.
Welcome, Indy Tiger.
Greetings.
See him. Tokyo. It's your turn.
I didn't learn my lesson the last time. Japanese names for 4.
This one was Keiko's maiden name.
Going through all the Japanese names I remember, I actually don't remember her last name. It's not Tokugawa. It's not Yamaguchi. It's not Ogawa.
She was the nurse's cousin. Mazogawa.
Pass.
Omnicast.
Who is or what is Ishigawa?
That's right.
Oh no. Omnicast
knows his track, and it's your turn.
No, this is Japanese.
Sashimi. Nice job, Indy Tiger.
I get to pick. Let's see here.
You do.
Starships visiting DS9 400.
Needed at least a week for repairs after 6 months of combat, which provided the time to organize a baseball game.
Oh God.
I think I know this one.
I can't.
Please pass. Please.
Yes. Oh no. I'll pass.
Ooh, what is the
Proxy?
Umbra?
Ugh.
That's right.
Awesome. On the board finally.
Indeed, you are. And
All
it's
right.
your turn.
Looking for Tamek. Let's go with 400.
Quark, son of Keldar, came to answer the challenge of this Klingon, son of whatever.
That's great.
Oh no, what was it? What was the other guy's name? I was focused so much on what's his name, the guy that what's his name played. Oh no. Well, at least we blocked the double points, so we'll just pass.
Tokyo.
No.
Omnicast.
Who is Dagor, son of whatever?
Dang it!
Nicely done.
Swear to God, Tamek's not in this list. I'm gonna be so angry.
Tokyo.
Speeches for 5.
Today, we have assembled here again representatives of numerous worlds to forge an unprecedented alliance.
Oh, what was his name? Who's the Prime Minister of Earth? Pass.
Omnicast.
I can see it, and I know the actor, and I'm trying to picture his name. I can't put it. Pass.
Was it the
Proxy.
guy that was like all impressed with the translator, wasn't it? But this will pass.
Yes, the guy who was impressed with the translator was Nathan Samuels.
Tin Man. Yep, there it is. I can see it.
Omnicast, it is your turn.
Let's stick with starships visiting DS9 for 200, please.
Offloaded non-essential personnel at the station before going to investigate the new Jeopnerdy threat.
That would be the ill-fated USS Venture. Odyssey. Oh, shit. I said the wrong one. Odyssey. Shoot.
Well, you corrected yourself, so I'll incline to give that to you.
That's fair.
I'm glad you find that fair.
Hey.
I'm a
Proxy,
fair guy.
is
What can I say?
it is your turn.
Well, you know what we're looking for. When you go for 300.
With the station school shut down, O'Brien came up with the idea to convert a cargo bay into this for Keiko to use.
What is an arboretum?
You got it.
Nicely done, Proxy. Tokyo.
Speeches for 4.
No.
All right, Tokyo, you have negative points. However, we're going to allow you to bet up to 1,000.
I'm going to bet it all because it doesn't matter anymore.
Okay, I wouldn't agree with that last part, but 1,000?
Yep.
All right.
For what indeed is a man without freedom? Not but a mechanism trapped in the cogwheels of eternity.
I'm glad I didn't get this one.
I have no idea who's Data.
I'm afraid not. That was Harry Mudd.
One of the worst Trek characters ever.
Not known for his speeches either.
Omnicast, you've got the
Oh, I
lead
just
and
watched that
control.
episode. It was the one with the robots.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. DS Starships visiting DS9 for 100.
Docked at DS9 before heading to the Badlands to look for a missing Maquis ship.
Missing marquee ship. Oh, well, that's easy. USS Voyager.
That's correct.
Dang it.
Roxy, it's your turn. You can
Beat
take the
Max,
lead.
I'll be very angry. 200.
She forced Quark to marry her at knife point to prevent an enemy from seizing control of her house.
Oh, what was her name? Oh, no. Who is? Oh, no, I forgot her name. I was too focused on Tamek.
You weren't paying attention.
I was sure that was going to be a question from the video.
Tokyo.
Who's Grilka?
That's it.
Yep.
And Tokyo, it's your turn.
Fictional place is 500.
I'm looking for the name of the town just to be clear.
Oh, I was going to say the state.
Something Indiana. I don't know. No. Give up.
Omnicast.
Yeah, I had the state. I can't think of the city, so I'll pass as well.
Pass.
Roxy passes.
It's in Portage Creek.
Yeah, no. That wasn't happening.
Omnicast.
Let's just finish up with starships visiting DS9 for 500, please.
Sent by Starfleet to pick up an adolescent Jeopner and transport him to Starbase 201.
Pass this one.
Proxy.
That was the USS. I don't remember. Pass.
Tokyo.
No.
That was the Constellation.
Of course it was.
Wow.
Indeed, it
Being
was.
tricky, John. Being tricky. All right, let's go.
Proxy, it's your turn.
Wasted all my time on the other category for no reason. So we have to go
Because you
with-
weren't paying attention.
whatever. Nurse Ogawa for 100. Japanese names.
He broke Joe DiMaggio's record for consecutive games with a hit while playing for the London Kings.
Finally, when I know who is Buck Bokai.
That's right.
Well done. Tokyo.
Fictional 4. What is La As, France?
That is incorrect.
Omnicast.
I don't want to lose it. I could almost pass.
Proxy.
Oh, you know what? I was going to say Marseille, but that's a real place, I think. So we will pass.
It's like Saint Liqueur or something. What is it? Something.
St.
Saint Clair. Yeah. Yeah.
That was close. Omnicast, it is your turn.
All right. Let's do speeches. 300.
As of this moment, mankind casts off the shackles of alien interference and now determines its own fate.
I can see the actor. I can see the speech. What was the character's name? Pass.
Proxy.
Man, I don't even know what series this is from.
Oh my God.
Should have been paying attention. What can I say?
My head hurts.
Stupid time.
Tokyo.
Not that it matters anymore because I have too few points. Who is John Frederick Paxson?
You got it.
Who?
RoboCop.
Terra Prime.
Enterprise.
Oh, I don't watch that series. You know that.
Oh.
Yeah, you don't watch any of them. You don't pay attention. Proxy.
You suck.
It's your turn.
I don't like the fictional ones, so we have to go for 300 for Japanese names.
After Nechayev, he was the admiral with the most appearances in TNG.
Oh no, Admiral. Oh man, it was in the last episode too.
Go ahead and pass. 'Cause I know it.
Oh no,
Oh no.
Admiral. Oh no, timer! Come on! Oh, shit.
Tokyo.
Who is Nakamura?
Yeah.
That's right.
There you go.
And it's your turn, Tokyo.
Fictional 3. What is Carbon Creek, Pennsylvania?
That's correct.
Nice.
Oh, it's not a real place.
Nope.
Omnicast.
That's my vacation plans.
Let's
I
finish
guess you're
off.
just not paying attention.
We'll finish off Japanese names. 200, please.
Admiral Kirk expected that his meeting with this officer would not last more than 3 minutes.
Oh,
Admiral Nogura?
That's
Dang it.
correct.
Should have picked that one.
Who is Admiral Nogura? Sorry.
You got it.
Feel
Proxy.
like I'm not going to know any of these, so we'll go with speeches for 100, I guess.
Risk is our business. That's what this starship is all about. That's why we're aboard her.
I'm pretty sure it's probably Sulu. It sounds like something you would say, but we'll go with Captain Kirk. Who is Captain Kirk?
You almost lost it, but you fixed it there right at the end.
Very good. Very good.
Tokyo.
Yeoman
Fictional
Rand.
too. What is Graffiti Island?
That's correct.
That's also not a real place?
It is not.
Indeed.
Oh, man. There goes my cruise trip.
Omni.
Fictional Earth locations, 100. What is Fairhaven?
Indeed.
What's with these holodeck places?
And Proxy, you get the last clue.
Man.
But no victory can make this moment any easier for me. And I promise I will not rest until I stand with you again, here, in this place where I belong.
Oh. We'll go with who is Captain Cisco.
That is correct.
Beautiful.
$1,800.
Okay, then.
Yes, you do have 1,800 points. Very good. At last, you paid attention to something.
That's what I'm betting.
Took the whole game.
Let me put that link back into the private chat. Omnicast, you're already in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, Tokyo.
Oh, is this the same one?
Yeah, it's the same link. Sorry, Tokyo, you will not be able to play. We got a close game here. Omnicast has 2,200. Proxy has 1,800. Consider your bets on this category.
Oh, no.
To POW.
No, it's the wrong category to bet 1,800.
Do you want to reconsider?
I can't. I already said it.
Well,
I have not entered it.
Well, enter it because that would be cheating.
Omnicast, if you'll go ahead and enter how much you would like to bet, please.
Okay. In the thing here? Or just say it?
Yeah.
The T'Pau is missing.
Did you get it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do see it.
Got it.
And let's reveal our clue.
in a mock time, T'Pau declares, "This is the Vulcan heart. This is the Vulcan soul. This is our way." Decades later, we hear a Vulcan priest recite the same line in this Enterprise episode.
Players, you have 30 seconds. Kapla!
Oh, who was that dude in the forge?
So remember, we're looking for the name of an episode.
Oh, the episode. I'm not paying attention.
No, you're not.
Oh, we'll do that then.
All right.
I think I gave away the answer. I thought you were asking for the guy.
We'll see in a moment.
All right. Let's see how the two of you did and who our winner is.
Oh no, maybe it was the one after it.
Proxy with an I, Thomas. You had 1,800 points. Your response?
You said the Forge, but unfortunately that is incorrect.
I'm sorry. I guess you weren't paying attention. How much did you bet? Of course, 1,800. Take it back down to 0.
Was
Sorry
it
about that,
Chara?
Proxy. Omnicast, you got 2,200 points, and your response to the clue was?
What is
Oh,
home?
no.
And that is the correct response.
Oh, no.
Very good. And your bet amount was 300 points, giving you 2,500 points. Omnicast, you are the champion.
All right. Thank you. Good questions, John. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Game.
Nicely
Rigged.
done.
Yes.
Nicely done.
Thank
Well
you.
done.
Rigged. You
That was
made me
fun.
watch your video, and that question wasn't even in there. I'm very upset.
Well, I'm the cast. Since you are a winner,
Yes.
you're welcome to return for the next round if you like.
I would love to. Yeah. Let's do it.
Excellent.
Okay. Bye-bye.
See you later, Proxy Thomas.
Thanks for joining us, Proxy, with an eye, Thomas.
Thanks, Thomas.
I'll bring up our challengers for round 3. Let's welcome Resolute Germ and Mr. President.
Hello. How are you all?
Hey, Mr. President, what's up?
Inflation, unfortunately, but I,
That's true.
I take no responsibility. It's external forces. Anyway, how are you all? I hope you're having a good day.
Doing fine, thanks.
It was a pretty good day. Good.
Good to be here.
How's Germ?
Not too bad.
Not too bad. Okay, well, I
How
guess
are
that's
you?
better than quite a bit of bad.
Well, I'm not at work, so it could be worse.
Oh no,
Sorry about that.
they didn't mind. Sorry, Mum said something. Sorry. Hang on, I'll just mute.
Wow. Thomas, wow.
What did Thomas say?
Oops. He said, before you start, Mr. President, it needs to prove he isn't a changeling.
Oh, well, I don't know how to prove that because the blood test doesn't work. Ask me something only the real president would know. And hello, T-Dad and Brad Wolf.
Yeah, T-Dowd, you're here quite late. Glad you're still here, but you should have come up to play.
True.
Brad Wolf's message flashed by pretty quick. Would you mind if we bring that one up? Was he just saying hi, or was he saying, "Hi there, Mr. President"? Oh, thank you very much, Brad Wolf. I'm glad someone won't blame me.
You're a changeling.
Well, you'd be disappointed, Brad Wolf, because I don't have a Netflix subscription at the moment. He was asking how many episodes of Enterprise. I'm just explaining to my mum what's going on, because they will know I don't like Enterprise.
Oh,
But I can't catch up with it anyway, because I don't have Netflix right now.
oh, well. Anyway, I'll leave it up.
Hang on.
Pete.
Just one moment, guys, if it's okay.
And as we wait, does Omnicast have any words of wisdom?
Nothing of wisdom, but again, John, you're going deep again with these questions, man. I don't know. How do you, I was watching the Tokyo broadcast before, the Tokyo Trekkie one. You were in there. He was using artificial intelligence to get his questions. How do you generate these questions and go so deep? I'm dying to know.
Well, I do frequently go back and look at the transcripts of the episodes for the more challenging questions.
Got it.
I agree, Thomas. I agree.
What did Thomas say? I missed it.
Yeah, he's talking to T-Dow and saying, but Conti isn't dressed for a question of Trek most of the time.
Wow, I don't know who that is, sir.
Conti is the host of A Question of Trek.
Oh,
The
okay.
main host, the head host, the owner of the channel.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry
All right,
to keep you waiting, guys.
It's okay. Are you all ready to play?
Sure,
I'm
why not?
ready. I can't speak for the others.
Well, let's play Jeopnerdy.
We're starting off with Japanese ship names. Shipyards. TOS planet mats. You're going to identify the planet.
Ooh, that'd be hard.
Eulogies. You're going to tell us who is the eulogy being given for.
I think I'll know that one.
And gravity, referring specifically to the episode of that name.
All right, Omnicast, you are the returning champion. You go first.
Let's do shipyards for 200, please.
200.
Commodore April recalled being present at this shipyard when the Enterprise's unit components were built.
All right, I'll go out there and say, what is San Francisco?
Very good.
Got that. I would never have guessed that. That was well done.
Yeah.
And yeah, we all shudder, T-Down. We all shudder about Conti's apparel. Resolute. It is your turn, my friend.
Well, that was the only question I was going to get in shipyards, but everything else is just as bad. So, shipyards 100.
In an alternate timeline, Chakotay and Kim stole this vessel right out of a Federation shipyard for their plan to change Voyager's fate.
What is the Delta Flyer?
That's right.
That's the one.
Very good.
Mr. President. Your turn, sir.
Japanese ship names for 100, please.
In a simulation, trainees receive a distress call purportedly from this ship, which has struck a gravitic mine and lost all power.
What is the Kobayashi Maru?
That's right.
Oh, we're 3 for 3. Omnicast. Your turn.
Let's do that. Japanese ship names 200.
Nagilum created a copy of this sister ship of the Enterprise D.
Oh, that's what I thought the 100 was going to be.
I did too.
Also ill-fated USS Yamato.
That's right.
I believe the Japanese pronounce it Yamato.
Yamato.
And Tokyo Trekker can correct me on that. Maybe Proxy Thomas can too. Resolute.
Let's go with shipyards for 3.
In one quantum reality, the Cardassians reprogrammed this facility to spy on several Federation sites, including the Utopia Planitia shipyards.
Pass.
Mr. President.
Pass.
Omnicast.
What is the Argus array?
That is correct.
Bam. Well done.
Very good.
Mr. President.
I'm going to go eulogies for 100, please.
The captain elected to remain on board the Defiant so that 3 members of this crew would have the best chance of returning safely to the Enterprise.
Oh,
Who's
hang on. No. Pass. It's not what I was thinking at all. Sorry. Pass.
Omnicast?
I'm not sure I understand the question, but I'll pass it. I'll ask later.
Germ?
I'm gonna have to pass because it has to be a trick.
We're looking for who the eulogy is for.
Okay, that's what I wasn't sure. Yeah, that was who's giving it or who was it for? Okay, yeah. Well, Kirk then, but
Sorry for the confusion there.
Right.
So yes, we were looking for Kirk.
Omnicast?
Let's do Shipyards 4.
The destruction of this shipyard was accomplished by a glorious firestorm that illuminated the gates of Stovall Core itself. A fitting welcome for Jadzia.
Oh, I can see the episode. I know the ship they were on. I'll pass.
Germ?
Pass.
Mr. President?
Pass.
That was the Monac shipyard.
Yeah, that's deep. Wow.
Germ, it is your turn.
Let's try eulogies for 4.
400.
I will miss her very much. Her healing, her advice, and most of all, the inspiration she has provided me throughout the years. Rest in peace, Nana.
Who is Beverly? Crusher.
Just to clarify, we're looking for who is the eulogy being given for, not who's giving.
Oh, given. Oh, okay. Who's the dead one? Okay.
We have to be a little more specific.
I suppose her grandmother isn't an acceptable answer since you had it in the question itself.
Right, we're looking for a name.
Nothing.
Okay, Mr. President.
Mrs. Howard?
Well, yes, we do technically take last names, but in this case, I think we need a first name specifically.
Pass.
Oh, man. That, Howard. I know it's Howard. He said it already. I'll take a guess. Felicia Howard. Felicia.
I think that's close enough.
Well,
man.
Nice.
We should get partial credit on that one because that was tough, man. That was. Oof.
You got it. You got it.
A rough one.
Mr. President.
Yes? Oh, it's
Your
my
turn.
turn. Sorry. Eulogies for 200, please.
Funniest thing I ever saw. No matter what he did, he couldn't get the tune right. What was that song?
It was Data.
That's correct.
Nice.
Thanks.
Omnicast, you got the lead and control.
All right, let's do Japanese ship names for 300, please.
Commander Shelby identified the wreckage of this New Orleans-class starship in the aftermath of Wolf 359.
I know that.
What is the Kyushu?
That's right.
Oh, I was all set to answer it, but well done, Omnica.
Indeed. Well done. Germ, your turn.
Eulogy for 3.
We will go forward with renewed determination to complete this mission, so that his sacrifice won't just have been for the people on this ship, but for all the citizens of Earth.
I gotta pass.
Mr. President.
I'm gonna guess it was Charles Tucker III.
Afraid not.
Omnicast.
It's a trick question, and I'm going to pass.
You were almost right, Mr. President.
Yeah, I was going to say.
It was for Sim, who was a clone.
Oh, okay.
Attacker.
Mr. President?
Japanese ship names for four, please.
During the Zenkethi War, Cisco was promoted to executive officer of this starship commanded by Captain Layton.
I know it. Just come to mind, relax. You know this. No, I'm gonna have to pass. I'm gonna kick myself. But
Omnicast?
Oh, 60 Wars. Captain Admiral Layton. What was the name of the ship? Pass.
Germ.
Pass.
That was the Okinawa.
Oh,
I
man.
knew I should have known that. I
Ugh.
knew I kicked myself, but I just
Yeah, that was almost too
Yeah.
easy.
Don't
Yeah.
kick yourself, Mr. President. Omnicast,
Okay.
your turn.
Let's finish out shipyards for 500, please.
Commander Barclay informed Admiral Janeway that her shuttle was waiting for her at this shipyard.
Uh-huh. No, pass.
Germ.
Pass.
Mr. President.
I'm gonna guess it. What is Utopia? What is Utopia Quindicia shipyard?
That is incorrect.
Oh,
It was at the Oakland shipyard.
Oh, see, I was thinking San Francisco, and I'm like, I can't. He wouldn't use the same one twice.
I was really thinking of the one on Mars because I thought Barclay was stationed on Mars at one point, but no.
Thomas says, don't kick yourself, Mr. President. Have someone else do it.
I think having someone else do would be worse, Thomas.
Germ, it is your turn.
Let's try the Planet Max 100. Crap, what was that? Pass.
Mr. President.
Pass.
Omnicast.
I'm regretting giving.
Triskelion?
That's right.
Can you phrase it?
Well done.
I'm sorry. What is Triskelion? Pardon me.
You got it.
Mm-hmm.
You are a legend, sir.
His little brains gave it away.
Indeed. I like that, Thomas. That's good. That's good.
Interesting question.
Yes. Mr. President, it's your turn.
Well, I'll go for eulogies for 500.
Her intelligence and her charm have made our long journey home seem not quite so long. As she continues on a journey of her own, we will keep her in our hearts and in our memories.
I can't remember her name properly, so I'm going to pass.
Pass. Okay. Omnicast.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
of.
no, I don't got this one. Pass.
Germ.
Pass.
Ani Tall.
Oh, it wasn't who I thought. I thought it might have been Lindsay Ballard, but
Omnicast, your turn. Got quite a lead.
Okay. TOS Planet Mats for 300. That's relevant. If you're watching, what is it? Strange New Worlds. It'll be Rigel 7?
That's correct. It was also reused for the planet Holberg 917G.
Indeed.
Yes. Yes.
Germ, your turn.
Let's try 200, same category. Pass.
Mr. President,
Pass.
Omnicast.
What is Cestus 3?
That's correct.
I thought that one was really well done. It was really effective.
Cestus 3 has been destroyed.
Indeed. Mr. President, your turn.
Japanese ship names for 100, please. 'Cause I can't
For
remember the
500?
Sorry, 500.
As part of Picard's plans for the Tachyon detection grid, the Excalibur, the Hornet, and this starship were supposed to fall back, intentionally opening a gap in the net.
I can't, with enough reliability, I can see the scene, but I'll probably pronounce the name wrong. No, pass.
Omnicast.
What is Akagi? Akagi? I think I'm saying it wrong. Akagi.
You got it.
Akagi.
Well done. Omnicast, it is your turn.
TOS Planet Mats for 400.
All right. You got quite a lead. You have 30,500, 3,300 ahead of your nearest opponent. How much would you like to bet?
Yeah, let's do 1,000, please.
1,000.
Okay. Let's make it a little bigger here.
Oh, this one. Oh, but it's a daily double.
Oh, trying to get this wrong, but what is Delta Vega?
That's the one.
Wow. Oh, man.
The one I knew. Well done, Omnicast.
Because I thought it was the one from The Devil in the Dark at first, but whatever. That's fine. That's it. That is the one.
Germ, your turn.
Let's finish out the category 500. Pass.
Mr. President,
Pass.
Omnicast.
Yeah, I'm going to pass this one.
I think it was a good one to pass on.
What episode?
That
What was that from, John? Got to help me out. Yeah.
No, the man trap. Man trap.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
All right, Mr. President, we have gravity, we have gravity, we have gravity, we have gravity, and we have gravity. Which of the gravities would you like?
100, please, because I can't remember which episode it is.
In an opening flashback, he was surprised to hear a Vulcan master admit to having emotions.
Pass. Sorry.
Omnicast.
Who is a young Tuvok?
That's right.
He'd be the one. Omnicast.
Let's do 200.
When the EMH was told his mobile emitter might be needed as a power source, he protested that he was a doctor, not this.
I'll pass.
Sure.
What is a battery?
That's right.
It was going to be my guess or generator.
Germ, it's your turn.
300.
A Voyager shuttle was pulled into a gravity well and crashed on a planet trapped in a pocket of this.
I know it had a specific name, but pass.
Mr. President.
Pass. What season is this from? Pass.
Omnicast.
Yeah, I'll also pass. I don't remember the name.
It was a pocket of subspace.
Oh.
Overthought that one.
Yeah, I know the planet was moving fast, but okay.
Yeah, that seemed like a perfect spot for some techno babble.
Voyager disappointed us on that one.
Pocket of subspace.
All right, Mr. President, 400 or 500?
400. I better get this right, otherwise no fun of Jeopnerdy for me.
All right, 400.
Neelix was happy to get a recipe for sauté of this creature, but Paris considered it an acquired taste.
No, don't know. No. I'll just guess a bird of some kind.
That is incorrect.
Omnicast.
No, I'll pass on this one.
Sure.
I think I know it, but I don't want him to be alone in Final Jeopardy, so I'll pass.
All right. What did you think it was, Germ?
Sauté of Gok.
In this case, we were actually looking for spiders.
Spiders.
Oh.
All right. Omnicast, you get the final clue.
All right.
After being alone for many years, she became quite taken with Tuvok.
Maybe the actress's name. I can see her face, and it is pass. Don't remember her name.
Germ.
Pass.
Mr. President.
Pass.
Nos.
Oh,
is she the one that interfaced with the Hardik at first?
No, that's a different episode.
Okay.
All right. Sorry, Mr. President, you will not be able to play Final Jeopardy.
That's all right.
For Germ, I'll put the link into the private chat for Cosmo Buzz.
I think I better step down as prisoner after that round.
Oh, I wouldn't go that far, Mr. President.
Oh, that's good.
Consider your bet amounts on this category.
T'Pel.
And hello, Life with Matthew.
Greetings.
Oh, T'Pel. T'Pel. Okay.
Here comes our clue. Oops. Sorry. Here comes our clue.
Prior to Tuvok's wife, or the Vulcan ambassador who was actually a Romulan spy, a Vulcan named T'Pel was mentioned in this episode of TAS.
Players, you have 30 seconds. Kapla! Sorry, I was having a little bit of difficulty there. All right, let's find out how you did.
All right.
Germ, you had 400 points entering final Jeopnerdy. Your response was.
Not a thing.
And
the animated series.
How much did you bet? You bet it all. Taking back down to 0. Sorry about that, Germ. And Omnicast, you were in the lead at 4,600 points.
Yes.
Your response.
I haven't seen TAS in years.
Yeah.
Well, the episode I was looking for was the big Vulcan episode, which would be Yesteryear.
Oh, okay.
Indeed.
Wow.
How much did you bet, Omnicast?
Deep.
400 points, taking down 4,200, but that's still enough. You are the champion once again.
Woo! Thank you. Good game, guys.
Nicely done.
Thank you.
Well done on me, guys. Congratulations.
No, that was fun. I'm looking forward to this all week.
Cool.
Nice game. Very nice game. And yeah, Matthew, it was one of the 2 sinkhole episodes talking about gravity.
I don't even remember that episode. What season was it in? I might not have even seen it.
I think it was the 5th season, or 6th, 5th or 6th, right?
Yeah, I think it was 5th.
5th, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't
great
remember
episode.
if it was 5th or 6th. I knew it was toward the end of the latter half of the series.
Okay.
Nice game. Very nice game.
Thank you. It was fun.
I want to say hi, Darren.
Greetings.
Welcome, Darren.
I just thought of something really weird about one of my previous Federation presidents. Because wasn't the president and the Darren's having trouble with his connection. Wasn't the president in the episode with the coup? Wasn't he a horse-like species?
He was kind of horse-like, I guess. Yeah.
Now the weird thing is that in that episode, the office of the president was in France, and they eat horses in France, so probably not the best. If I was him, I would have relocated my office to somewhere more friendly.
Well, by the 24th century, it's probably only replicated horses.
Yeah, true.
Mm.
It still freaked me out seeing a replicated version of my species being eaten by people.
That's a good question, though. What species was that president? What was his name? Jarish Enyo from that episode. What was he?
Grisarite?
Krizari?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Grisarite or something like that.
Okay. Huh.
Oh, and Darren's back. Welcome back, Darren.
I forgot I was wearing the wrong headset in a stream.
Hey, Dan, how are you?
Well, tough questions this time. Well, the first round versus game. I don't know what was wrong with those guys, but the rest of them were pretty hard.
That third board was pretty difficult, I thought.
Yeah. I didn't even. I mean, I missed the explanation for all the categories. So when you got to gravity, I'm like, what does that have to do with gravity? You know, John's like, it's an episode. Oh, Voyager.
Episode
right?
title. Yeah.
I'm getting to the point where I'm only going to come on to play a game if there's absolutely no Voyager or TAS questions.
Good luck.
Good luck with that. Yeah, he likes to pepper that he likes to pepper that shit in there. Sorry.
That was the best episode of Strange New Worlds ever.
Sure, it was.
Getting better. It's getting better.
What was?
They had a surprise episode tonight. They are airing the new episode early.
I didn't even see it yet.
Oh, I know the opening credits were in the animation style, but I saw that on Twitter, and so I leap over to literally over to Paramount Plus, and I'm looking in the lower decks part, and I don't see anything, and I felt gypped. So I'll look at it later. I thought it was gonna be an actual like crossover where like one episode begins in lower decks and continues into Strange, but
kind of does. The beginning, the very beginning, and the very end are animated.
Nice. All right. I'll watch that after after DeMarco lets me go. So
You're dismissed.
No, it's fine.
Oh. I think Strange New World should be called Strange New Show, quite frankly.
Well, I think it's strange new continuity headaches, but
yeah.
It's because you don't pay attention.
No, you proved tonight who does not pay attention. It's you.
I suspect that the show is at least plotted by AI, only because they seem to be making decisions that only an AI would make, or somebody who does not want to watch the episodes but just wants to read the transcripts of the scripts. My second to the last video about Nurse Chapel and whether OG Nurse Chapel knew who Chapring was, sort of it hits that home a little bit, because if you just looked at the script, she could have known, but if you watch the episode and you see her reaction, it's a dead giveaway. Same thing with the scene where Spock is in Amok Time. He's looking at a picture of T'Pring when she was a child. Well,
Right.
Why would he be looking at that picture?
Yeah.
If that was not the last time we saw her, but again, there's also and they wanted to build up for this reveal where also this woman comes on the screen and they say they're Vulcan stuff and so that's why I think a lot of people, Deej included, got a little bit upset when in the first episode of Strange New Worlds they show them having a date and then on Vulcan and about to saddle up and and it's like, well, the implication in that episode of Muck Time was that they had not seen each other in a very long time, and possibly that was the last photo he had of her, or picture he had of her. So
yeah, and the fact that the whole once every 7 years thing is totally ignored in Strange New Worlds.
Yeah,
I like Brad Wolf. I like what you said. Strange new continuity. Cannon break, rather.
Yeah. Or here's another example, right? So in the Menagerie, when Commodore Mendez asks Captain Kirk, "Have you ever met Christopher? Or, do you know Christopher Pike?" And he goes, "We met when he was promoted to fleet captain." And that's all he says.
Right. So
the implication for anybody who is watching the show is that would be the only time he's ever met him, and presumably that happened at the change of command ceremony. But what they're doing is they're looking at the script and they're not watching the episode, because according to the script, yes, he said so we have to make sure that he meets him when he's promoted to fleet captain.
But why bother? It's a new continuity.
But I'm willing to bet that we are going to see more of Kirk later on, either in this season or if we have another season. And that will be the problematic part, because if they have an even a bigger crisis to deal with after he met him in this last episode, then that draws into question, if you're a canonista, why he didn't mention the more important event in which he met him or worked with him when he was asked by the Commodore. So there's these problems that arise.
I just realized this though, but I think it was temporary, because this entire episode he wasn't wearing his new badge. They went back to his old emblem on his shirt.
Which, really?
The one with the big
interesting.
circle for his
Oh, that's interesting.
promotion.
Well, he said it was
Interesting.
temporary, so maybe it really was for now.
So for like 1 week.
Well,
That mission,
he
the
did-
one mission.
He did destroy the thing he was supposed to get working again. I mean,
Yeah, he kind of botched it. Yeah.
and he said it's on me, and that might be the punishment. So who knows? But he was
Yeah, but
definitely a fleet captain by the time he got irradiated.
Which gets back to Brad Wolf's question: what is a fleet captain?
Okay, in the naval sense, a fleet captain would be somebody who is basically a senior captain who can order another captain in a battle group to do things. And it's not a rank that we've had, in recent years. It's an older idea.
We've heard admirals and fleet admirals on Star Trek, right? So
we have, yeah. And I mean, it's the same as Commodore. It's the rank of Commodore has come and gone and come back again and then left again in the Navy. Just even within my lifetime. In my lifetime, they got rid of Commodores, then brought them back briefly as the rank, and then got rid of them again. And so fleet captain was something I believe that they used back in World War I. And usually it was when there was no admiral available to command a battle group. So, they would just designate one of the captains as a fleet captain. But they're acting like it's a promotion. He gets to wear the circle thing, and it's a little bit different. But yeah.
Well, Darren, what about rear admiral? We've heard that one too, right? What does that mean?
Okay, so the way it used to work is the ranks went captain, then commodore, then rear admiral, then admiral, and then vice admiral and whatever afterwards. But what happened was, but anyway, what happened? Yeah, you're right. But what happened was the commodores in the Navy complained. They said, "Look, if I was in the Army, Air Force, or Marines as an 07, I'd be called a general. I want to be called an admiral." So they got rid of the Commodore rank and changed its name to Rear Admiral lower half, and then Rear Admiral became Rear Admiral upper half. And then that lasted for about 10 years, and then somebody wanted to bring back Commodore again, and they did, and it lasted for about a year and a half, and they got rid of it again. Again, too many people complained. It was the Navy has ranks that and titles and things that no other branch in the U.S. service has, other than perhaps the Coast Guard. Now that the Coast Guard is considered a military branch. When I was in the Navy, it wasn't considered a military branch. It was part of the Department of Transportation, except during wartime, where it would fall under the control of the Navy. But that's what happened there, and yeah.
No.
Wasn't no reason why the British Royal Navy's been more consistent.
They're more consistent. You're right, and they have a brilliant way of naming their ships HMS because they don't have to change it when the Queen dies and is replaced by a king.
It's hers or his.
It's hers or his. That's it. So that's pretty efficient to me. They don't have to repaint any ships or anything. But the rank of Commodore is no longer a rank. It's a job title. So, for example, they might let's say they put somebody in charge of the Fleet Museum or one of the Fleet Museums we have. They might call him Commodore, even though his rank would be, he'd be like probably an admiral or high administrative. They'd call just like the commandant of the Naval Academy or the academy is usually, somebody of admiral rank.
And do they have different stars too? The admirals, like the generals do in the army. Do they have
They have the same symbols and everything. It's stars,
Okay.
1 star, 2 star, 3 star, and it's and there are certain similarities. I mean it's funny because you can tell. Funny bird. Go to bed, bird. Anyway,
Their Majesty ship, TMS. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's
only in Kuroga. That's only in Kuroga, bird.
all U.S. military branches have a 3-tier system of ranking. So you got to, for example, in the Navy, you've got, when you first arrive, you're a recruit, an apprentice, and then seaman. It'll be seaman, recruit, seaman, apprentice, and then full-blown seaman. That's E3. That's the first tier. Second tier is petty officer, third, second, and first class, and then the senior tier are the chiefs. Chiefs, senior chiefs, and master chiefs.
Master chiefs. Those are the top ones. Yeah.
Yeah. There's E9s, and then there's of course one ceremonial rank higher that's called E10, which is Master Chief of the Navy. But there's never more than one of those at a time because it's actually more of a job title than a rank. But officially, it is a rank. And the Marine Corps and the Army and the Air Force have their ranks set up the same way. The first 3 ranks, and this also goes into the officer ranks as well. So in the Navy, you've got ensign, lieutenant, JG, lieutenant. That's the first tier. Lieutenant, commander, commander, captain is the second tier, and then the admiral ranks make up the third tier.
Darren, when I was talking about the British Royal Navy, I was going to say, don't worry, I'm not going to subject you to a rousing rendition of Rule Britannia.
Actually, like Rule Britannia is one of those songs that every time they want to show you, they want to tell you you're in England. That even if they're filming in Toronto, they'll play Rule Britannia, and okay, I'm supposed to be in England now. Okay, gotcha. Or they'll show a picture of Big Ben or some footage of Big Ben or Buckingham Palace or something, but then you'll be right back in Toronto.
Yeah, true. Very true. I joke around with my uncle quite a lot because he's not a monarchist. He thinks New Zealand should become a republic, but I'm still a monarchist. So every time I want to annoy him or bug the hell out of him, I start singing Rule Britannia, and he gets really annoyed.
But it's a long way to Tipperary, also. No, some of these questions got me thinking. There was one that you had. A person who couldn't remember Grilka's name. I think that might have been Cinnabon.
I was thinking, how could you forget Grilka?
Yeah. House of Grilka. 2 episodes she was in. Most magnificent eyebrows you've ever seen.
She's glorious.
Yes, she is. Yeah. And I always wanted to hear more about what was happening with the House of Grilka at this point. It's like,
it's always the way. And in round 2, which of course I didn't get in time for, I knew pretty much all the answers. You always know the answers of the round you don't play. And then you play, and the pressure gets to you.
Right. Pressure does get to you. That is true. But there was a question. God, I can't remember what it is now. Because I remember it stuck in me, but then now it's gone. Oh, shoot.
It'll come back. And for Christmas, I'm going to send a dictionary to Cinnabon so he finally knows how to... Yes, Matthew, yes. For Christmas, I'm going to send a dictionary to Cinnabon so he finally knows how to spell the word proxy.
Matthew, I don't even think he was paying attention to that.
I was away. I had to pee. Excuse me.
Wow. You miss everything. You're like John Travolta in Pulp Fiction. You're always in the bathroom and the really important shit.
My bladder almost exploded.
Right. How big's your bladder? Like a shot glass size?
It is.
Well, you're Asian. Don't worry about it.
Did someone ask a question?
No, I did. I asked who was it who didn't know who Grilka's name was.
Yeah, I was too focused on whatever that guy's name. I figured he was going to ask a question on that since it was in the first round.
Life with Matthew. Grilka
During that
was in
video.
Grilka was in 2 episodes. The first one was the House of Quark, and the second one was Looking for Parmak in all the wrong places. And in that second one is the one where Worf made a fool of himself in an attempt to impress her by throwing Morn out of his seat.
I will apologize for this at a later time.
That was great.
Yeah, I loved how he acted basically like a teenager, but still kept his relative maturity during the whole process.
Yeah.
And also what I liked about that obviously was Jadzia's growing frustration with the fact that he's not receiving the messages she's sending him. The hints.
Yeah.
And at the creme de la creme of that episode is at the very end when Bashir is listing all of Quark's in the infirmary, listing all of Quark's injuries and asks, "What have you been doing?" And then they laugh. And I don't want to know what happened. And then Worf and Jadzia walk in and they're all disheveled and messed
Classic.
up. And it's like, "What have you been? What happened to you?" And she's like, "Well, if you must know." And he's like, "No. I'll just treat people and they'll leave. That's all I'm going to do." Everybody's having really rough sex except Bashir.
Yeah. And while you were in the bathroom, I said that I was going to send you a dictionary for Christmas so you finally know how to spell proxy properly.
It's obviously spelled with an I.
It isn't.
And you know what I like most about that scene, Life with Matthew, is I think a lot of kids, well, except for today when they're teaching kids about sex in kindergarten, but a lot of that would have gone over most kids' heads. I mean, the real young kids, teenagers would have probably got it, but it was so tastefully executed and humorous that they didn't know what happened. Yeah, it was.
They don't know how to. They don't know how to write like that anymore.
I don't think so either. No, I mean the writers that they've got. I mean that previous week's episode where Spock became human. The one thing I did like about it was the scene where all the female characters are in the shuttle and they're talking like girls. That felt real to me. I actually liked Erica in there, but then that's the only good thing about the show. That's the only thing that these writers seem to be really good at, and so they're always trying to write that. They've essentially demoted Anson Mount in his own show in which he's supposed to be the lead. It's an ensemble cast, but the captain's always the lead, and they've got rid of Hemmer and replaced her with what used to be Carol Kane, and and that line of hers about Hemmer I thought was just really uncalled for. If you're a Hemmer fan, I can imagine people got really ticked. She's like, "He was my best student," and then she pauses for a moment and goes, "I'm just saying that because he's dead. He was pretty mediocre." And I'm like, what? After that relatively sad and heroic death of his last season, you're gonna say that? I mean, nobody said that about Tasha Yar.
Yeah.
Thankfully, she was in this episode very little this time, except this week. Pike wasn't in it a lot this week.
Which he's good. I think they should show him more, honestly. He's a good actor, and he's playing the role really well.
Are you talking about the episode released tonight?
I'm sorry, I didn't watch the one tonight because I was doing this, but I'll watch it afterwards. But up to this one, he's been good. I think it's getting better. It feels like Star Trek a little bit again, and I haven't said that in a long time. Like Discovery, I'm not going to go there. I guess Picard season 3 was good for memories and feeling nice, but these individual episodes, a smaller focus, not this huge season-long arc what they were trying to do with Discovery. It feels good again, and I think they're getting more relaxed in their roles, and maybe the writers need to sharpen up a bit. But I'm kind of liking it, and I haven't said that in a long time, and I think it's good to see that again.
It's got problems, but it's definitely apart from Guard 3, the best live action material that Secret Hideout has produced for me so far. Both seasons. I did like first season a little better than this one, but so far. But I have a feeling that we're gonna get a lot more Pike in the last episodes of this season, and also the special effects have been fairly light thus far. I mean, this episode had, the imaginary sequence where they get sucked out of the view screen, which this is why you don't have a window. You have a view screen, and you have
Spock
a
goes
bulkhead
flying out.
behind,
Yeah.
and you have a bulkhead behind the screen. But anyway, that was a pretty good effect, and things. But I think they've been kind of saving it for some more Gorn stuff later on.
Yeah, I did like the effects on Rigel 7. They obviously shot that on some kind of lot or blue screen or whatever, but you saw steam coming out of their mouth. You saw those backgrounds. It looked very good. I mean, it was crisp.
That technology is called the video wall. It's very interesting. It's a high definition 8K screen that surrounds them. So what they're standing on is real, but then you can put a CGI background behind it. They use it in the Mandalorian. They use it in this. And if you see the behind the scenes of that, you can probably find it on P Plus or YouTube.
Yeah.
That they show you how they did that, and it's one of those things that looks really expensive, but they can use it over and over for various shows. And I really like the look of Rigel 7 in that episode. It
had a mysterious look to it, and it looked like they were cold and foreign or alien planet, I should say. Yeah,
it looked retro. It looked like an improvement over the kind of sets we used to see in TOS, and also obviously the first 2 seasons of TNG too. So I like that.
I just hate the version of Kirk, so I haven't watched any of the season. When he came on at the end of season 1, it's like, I'm done. This guy's not Kirk at all.
You want to know what pissed me off? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. President. I thought you were done.
Is the portrayal of Kirk improved at all?
It's growing on me. I don't know. It feels like he was good in that episode with Lon when they were back on Earth, and then this one where you actually introduces him to Spock and they kind of zoom out in that last minute. I'm like, wow, I kind of get it. He does look a little bit the role, and like I see him getting better. I didn't like him at first either. He was kind of too young and annoying to me, but now I almost see what they see in this actor, and I can see where they're going with it.
Yeah, because otherwise he looks like Justin Bieber. But,
I think he looks like Jim Carrey.
That too.
Definitely Jim Carrey.
He needs to eat a steak sandwich and do some pumping of iron, in order to bulk up just a little bit, so that he changes his build slightly. But
he doesn't want to wear the girdle that Shatner had to wear. He's trying to keep his figure trim.
That was a 3rd season thing, I think. Svelte. But I'll tell you what pissed. Hold on, I want to get this out. The scene with Uhura. Uhura is such a bitch this season. I do not like Uhura this season at all compared to the first season. How many times are we going to hear her talk about her parents dying in a shuttle accident? Okay,
hopefully this is the last time.
Plenty of people and professionals have stories like that, but they don't go telling people left and right. And And the other thing is, when she ordered that Saurian brandy, she took 1 sip of that tumbler full of brandy and then left it there.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
She chugged a drink in this episode.
Yeah, it's what a waste. It's bad enough they got basically their own version of 10 Forward that it's actually a little bit more elegant than the one that Whoopi had on TNG.
It is.
Instead of a cafeteria with no windows like we saw in the original series, but
the rec room.
If you got a nice place like that, here's the thing. Okay, if you want to be alone, you don't go to a bar, because a bar is all about commiserating with other people. The alcohol they serve is just the grease for that action. It's just the lubrication that you put, that so people can rub up against each other, figuratively speaking, and be okay. So if you want to be alone, don't want to be hit on, don't want to be anything, don't go to the bar. You know.
I'd agree with that.
And you know, I didn't ask why she had a dermal regenerator in her quarters, but I mean, maybe she just has a personal first aid kit, and that's one of the things that's in there. Fixes a broken nose.
Yeah, she definitely broke his nose. You're right. How did the dermal regenerator do that? Right, that was pretty impressive.
Right? Yeah, yeah. Dermal regenerator just heals your skin, as far as I know.
His nose was shot.
That's where because that's where your dermis is. You know, so.
That bar is way too big to fit in that ship. Also, they show it in this episode. They show the shuttle bay. It's enormous. It takes up half of the secondary hull. So I have no idea where engineering is anymore.
What's up with the open flames though on a starship? The open fire is that a real fire or is that a hologram fire? Because I can't figure it out. Is it a hologram?
I don't know. See, it certainly could be a controlled fireplace. I mean, the captain can have a fireplace if he wants. I mean, I assume, but
oxygen is a commodity on a starship. You're going to burn it using a fire for ambiance.
Oxygen
doesn't make any sense, you know?
Oxygen doesn't burn. It combines with carbon to form CO2. It's the fuel that burns in a fire. But the sorry, I'm just being an ass. I get people all the time with that. But anyway, it doesn't really consume the gas or the O2. It converts it into CO2.
Gotcha.
So it actually adds something to the oxygen. That's why you can't use it. But anyway, it certainly does seem, and I think Major Grin did a video on this about how fires are treated on starships, and in TNG they didn't like open flames. You know, certainly Worf had candles in his quarters, however, but in the cargo bay when the Bryn Lloydie tried to start a fire so they could make some homemade alcohol,
the force the
cargo bay, you know, and that was only in the cargo bay though. So I mean, you know, who knows what they do in quarters? But I've been pontificating a lot here. So.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure it's a hologram because in another season 1 episode they had the huge simulation of a star in someone's quarters in that episode that where people became addicted to light and wanted more and more light. So I know that continuity wise it doesn't make sense for them to have advanced holograms so much, but we all know that Strange New Worlds doesn't give a damn about continuity. It's basically in a parallel universe. So.
They try, but they do it half-assed. That's the problem. Again, with the whole we met when he was promoted to fleet captain. Okay. Yeah. But if you do something, if Kirk's back on the show and he has a major thing where he's on the ship again for any reason, and it's an even bigger situation than that refinery thing was, like a Gorn attack or whatever. That doesn't jive with how that scene in Menagerie went down.
Mm-hmm. No.
And one of the things also was that Mendez commented that Captain Pike was about the same age as Kirk.
Yeah.
About your age, and you know, clearly they're not sticking to that, you know, either.
Especially if Spock was on the ship for 11 years serving with Pike, and then Kirk is the youngest captain in history, or whatever, right? So that doesn't add up. What about another one that's been bothering me since we're talking about Chief Kyle? They changed him a bit, right? And then
a bit.
Yeah, I'm scratching my head because he was in. Well, hold on, because he was not just such a minor character. He was in many episodes of the original series and in the movie with Star Trek 2. Mm-hmm, so it's like we've seen this
British
a lot. Yeah, a British kind of fair-haired, distinguished gentleman, and they totally changed him a bit.
I genuinely think people are getting two characters mixed up because the one in the original series.
That's why he's not on the ship right now, is because he had racial reassignment surgery.
I'm not trying to go there. I'm just noticing it's hurting my brain. You know what I'm watching.
Kyle is a common enough name, so it might be a different Kyle. But I mean,
gotcha.
I go ahead, Mr. President.
So I think the Kyle that was in a lot of movie, in a lot of TOS episodes, and the Kyle that was in Star Trek: The Motion Picture was an officer in TOS. I think Chief Kyle, which is the one that I think they're trying to use now, was a one-off character from the Cage, who was never seen again.
Well, you got to remember that. Remember what I said about certain positions sounding like ranks?
Yeah.
Chiefs, that's a rank. But you can also be the chief engineer, for example. Just because Geordi, for example, had the word chief in his title didn't mean he was a chief. And I think that's another thing that a lot of people who don't bother looking this stuff up, I've heard people that get really confused by this. When Kyle was operating the transporter, that position may have been called transporter chief. You know, we had officers on my submarine manning a station that's called the chief of the watch. They weren't a chief though. Normally chiefs stand it, or sit it, whatever. But as a new officer on board a submarine, the officers had to stand that watch, particularly when they were learning the job, because they had to know the chief of the watch's job before they could learn the officer of the deck job, which is an officer's position. So things like that happen, and it's a subtle thing that Star Trek used to just let the audience figure out. But now, but you know, again, I think the audience today is less inquisitive. They don't want to look things up.
They played with Chief O'Brien's rank a few times too. I remember he had 2 pips at one point on his collar, then they got rid of it. So like, you know, he ended up being a non-com at the end, right? He was just a chief. He wasn't an officer, but they played with that throughout the seasons of the early Next Generation. Like I think he was supposed to be an officer, but then he wasn't.
They changed his character, but you know something else that somebody mentioned is that his pips might have been silver instead of gold.
Oh, so it's 2 silver pips instead of gold, and that's okay. I didn't know it was at that level. Okay,
because that would, you know, for example, the colors white and gold, or gold and silver, they are on the old show TNG. They had problems with those colors. If you saw Brent Spiner in makeup as Data, he had a distinctly yellow skin tone. It was almost like the color of an Apple computer from the 80s after you had it for about a year. You know, that kind of yellow. That's what his skin was actually. But on the show, it looks white.
Unless he stands next to a Borg, and then he looks yellowish, right? Like the Borg were white skinned or whatever. Yeah.
Well, right. But I mean, he mentions. I remember him mentioning this in a radio interview. He says, because Brent Spiner released an album called "Oh Yellow Eyes Is Back," and he mentioned that his makeup is in fact yellow.
Yeah.
But on television, it appears white, and so that was, you know, why people were getting confused. But another thing, you know, when you and Ronald D. Moore mentions this, it says when you look at the original film negatives, an original film that they shot TOS on, one thing you notice is that Spock is actually green. He has a greenish.
Certain episodes, he had a greenish tinge to his makeup. You can see it, and you can even see on his neckline where the makeup kind of stopped. You know, and then you can kind of catch that early. Yeah.
Yeah. And in the remasters, I don't see green very much. There's a little hint of it here and there, but according to Moore, he's not like Incredible Hulk green, but he's like, and he's not quite like Herman Munster green, but he's some, you know, he's definitely not the flesh tone you think in broadcast television, which is weird. We'll never get to see him and see that and prove it, and be, you know, find out if he's right or wrong. But you know,
You know, Brad Wolf just made an interesting comment on the chat here. He says that Chief O'Brien had officers under taking orders from him on DS9, and that's
Right.
interesting because he did. You see him ensigns and different Bajoran
Mhm.
militia that were officers taking
Right.
orders from O'Brien, but he was not technically an officer. He was a chief, petty
That
officer,
can
whatever.
that can happen in the Navy, and the thing is, chiefs they're senior enlisted and they stand a lot of the watches that junior officers also stand. And if they're senior in that department, the ensigns and JGs, they have to treat them like a superior. Now they're more upwardly mobile than the chief is, though. When as the officers are promoted or they move to another department of the ship, it may not be like that. But it can happen. There are instructors at the U.S. Naval Academy that are chiefs.
Okay.
So yeah.
I was going to say that's just Star Trek messing with ranks, but I stand corrected.
Well, he, O'Brien's an interesting character because he was in charge of the maintenance of a huge station plus the Defiant after the Defiant got introduced. And the reason why he was picked for Deep Space Nine specifically was no serving engineer had the specific expertise he had. He was, because of his service during the Cardassian border wars, he was familiar with Cardassian and Bajoran technology in addition to Federation. Geordi was not, for example.
Yeah.
So he was. So what they did was they gave him a position that, it was so far in Star Trek is unique. You've never seen an senior enlisted man have that kind of responsibility.
Yeah.
So they did.
Do you think they should have made, by the time of Deep Space Nine, instead of having him a chief, do you think they should have promoted him to a warrant officer, so he'd be in between the commissioned and the normal enlisted?
Warrant officers are a rank that also comes and goes.
Okay.
When I was in the Navy from 95 to 2000, they were actually phasing out the warrant officer rank and program as they were retiring because they didn't need them. But then during the Gulf War, the War on Terror, all of a sudden they needed pilots to man all kinds of support craft, like Herculeses and certain non-combat helicopters and things. Well, the pilots coming out of the Naval Academy, and the OCS program, they're needed for actual like the fighter jets and things like that. But you still need other pilots, so they reactivated the warrant officer program and invited chiefs and also E6s and E5s, I believe, into that program if they qualified, and so we had a fresh influx of warrant officers. But they're a thing that's usually temporary. As a general rule, if a Navy in particular doesn't have a war in 20 or 30 years, a real one, they won't have warrant officers after a while because the ones will retire and whatnot. So yeah, it's not something that's always there. And a lot of chiefs, to be honest, don't want to be officers. They like being the big fish. They like being the big fish in the smaller pond.
Yeah, fair enough. That makes sense. Now, getting back to conflating rank with position, I take what you say about the transporter position might have been transporter chief, but and Geordie was chief engineer, and I grant you that, but they don't usually say, as in position wise, they never referred to Geordie as Chief LaForge. It was always Lieutenant LaForge or Lieutenant Commander LaForge, who is the chief engineer. It would be in different sentences. So, is that? Do you see what I mean? With Kyle, they were saying Chief Kyle, so they were mixing title with surname, which made me think that they were meaning Chief Petty Officer Kyle. Does that translate into the real world as well? That yes, you'd have a position called Chief Engineer, but you wouldn't usually call an officer who's Chief Engineer Chief and then surname. Or am I backing up the wrong tree here?
Right.
Wasn't Kyle a lieutenant though in the original series? I mean, maybe
He
someone
was, but
that. I thought he was.
But somebody called him Chief Kyle, but he was standing the transporter chief watch when they called him that. It's just like you would call you could walk onto the bridge and saying Mr. Sulu or Lieutenant Sulu. You could just call him helmsman, do this, this, and that. Same thing.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. So, yeah, we won't really know whether Chief Kyle in Strange New Worlds is the same Kyle as the Kyle in the original. But
I don't think they're the same at all.
Yeah.
Now, I know it's not the last word in Star Trek, but Memory Alpha does consider it the same character.
Yeah, well, that's like Wikipedia for Star Trek. I mean, that's
Well,
I can go
yeah,
in there
I
right
know.
now with my account and change that. So,
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
and then of course you got to remember also that Kyle was a commander in Star Trek too. He was on
the Reliant. Which whatever happened, I guess, did he make it or did they kill all those officers on the Reliant? I wonder.
They marooned them on SETI
on
Alpha.
SETI Alpha, right? That's right.
At the end of the movie, Enterprise was heading to SETI Alpha 5 to retrieve that crew.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. And Rand was in the movies too, right? Yeoman, but she became an officer as well. Of sorts, right?
Technically, Roddenberry said she was an officer even on TOS,
even though she was a yeoman. Okay.
Even though she was called a yeoman, because, and this is it's just Roddenberry. Yes, he is listed as the creator, but he said a lot of things that weren't correct later.
He's the great bird of the galaxy. The
great cuckoo bird, if you ask me. But anyway, he said that basically, since every member of the crew is an astronaut, they all have to be officers. That's what he said. And you'll notice that O'Brien didn't officially become a chief until after Roddenberry died.
Okay. I'm thinking about it. So O'Brien showed up and encountered a Farpoint. He had a red uniform on. He was on the bridge. Didn't have a rank. Didn't have a name either. Right. Yeah. And then he kind of graduated to the transporter room sometime in season 2, I think. Right. He wasn't really around much in season 1 after Farpoint.
Right. Well, there was another show where he seemed to be a security officer. He was wearing yellow at that point.
Which one?
The one with the Cele and the Nausicaans. It was I think it was.
But he was in the transporter room, wasn't he? He was saying, "Delegate, get back to your room," or something like that.
He was in the passageway.
Ah, okay, all right, yeah.
He did all sorts of things. Yeah.
And that was Mark Alamo, by the way, who played one of those aliens, which I didn't realize until recently. He was one of the snake guys in that episode.
He was the cat guy.
Oh, he's the cat. Okay.
We have seen the humans eat meat. That wasn't his voice.
You can tell, right? And then he played the Romulan later on in the Neutral Zone.
You can tell by the neck.
Yeah, he's
that's how you tell.
Distinguished neck. Oh, that's funny.
And I tell you, they made his neck look even longer as Ducat.
They accentuated that. I mean, yeah, they really played that makeup up for him.
Well, I was really disappointed to hear that for some stupid reason the actor who played Ducat later got some real hate in real life because Ducat was a bit like a Nazi, so that a lot of SJWs hated the actor for playing it. And it's like, don't hate the actor for the role they played. It's just fringe and horrible, you know.
There's psychos in every community. I mean, the guy who played the kid who played Joffrey on Game of Thrones had to hire round the clock security because if he went anywhere, there was a very good chance, and there was a couple times where this happened, where somebody rushed up to him and tried to like pepper spray him and stuff like that because they hated his character on the show.
It's just nuts. It's, I don't know how
Yeah,
you could be that deranged to, you know. They couldn't keep a transporter chief consistently into.
That's funny. You know, a lot of characters that the background characters, the only consistent background character that was there all 7 years was Lieutenant J. And if you don't know who Lieutenant J is, there was, and the first time I noticed her was in the episode where Data, in front of an audience of the crew, recited his poetry about his cat. You know,
And she's sitting next to Picard, right? In that
yes,
scene.
she's
I know
sitting,
you're talking about.
and they're
Yeah.
sitting very close to each other, almost
Right.
like she's his date. I'm like, who's that? You know, she's not
That
in
was
uniform
odd.
either. Yeah, her name is Tracy Lococo, and she's been everything. She also happens to be Marina Sirtis's stunt double. So in Power Play, when they're all hit by lightning on that planet, and they all get thrown back. That's actually Stacy Lococo that's getting thrown back in Troy's costume. But
I thought
anyway.
Marina said she did her own stunt and broke her back doing that stunt. Didn't she talk about that one
Nope,
time?
nope.
In an interview?
But
yeah.
They demonstrated that was not true.
So she lied. Okay.
She lied. Yes.
That's the one that Riker chased down the hallway in the blooper, right?
Yes. Yells
Okay,
Tracy
yeah.
and right. That
Runs after
was,
her. Yeah,
It was when they were filming the episode Parallels.
Just runs
Where-
after her.
Mm-hmm. He just runs after her. She was always like in the hall walking to show the illusion that there were other people on the ship besides the main crew. But, you know. In fact, there's if you go online, somebody took a picture of Tracy Lococo as she looks today, as she's older now, and put her in a captain's uniform and put a picture of a steam runner ship behind her, and it looks like a pocket books novel saying, you know, Captain J, you know, in her, you know, gets her own ship or whatever. It's a fake book cover, but
Yeah.
I liked it.
They had a few background characters that were recurring. If you watch closely, there was a male, one of the sick bay guys. He was in a lot of them. He never had any lines, right? He worked for Crusher,
Right.
but he was in there a lot. There was another guy that was in 10 Forward that was a waiter or whatever. You had a few of them that were just recurring, but they never had any lines. They were just recurring extras, I suppose. And the costumes already fit, so bring them back.
Yeah, they had Worf had two security guys. One was a tall black guy, and then the other one was kind of a short-looking guy with a bit of a pugnacious face. But he was still, they cut his hair and made him look as TNG as they could. You know. Those background actors, they were something.
Yeah.
John and Jeff, I meant to ask you earlier whether I know you're both not a fan of Strange New Worlds, but have you been watching the second season at all? Because I haven't at all.
I have not been watching the second season at all.
Okay. What about you?
I have seen all the episodes except for this evening's
Okay.
secret released episode.
So, out of the second season ones that you've seen, because I think they had Kirk in one of those, because there was a trailer or something where he can't work a revolving door or something like that. So
Yeah.
Well,
that was an alternative Kirk.
Oh,
right,
okay.
one that never lived on Earth, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I presume was played by the same actor that they had.
Yes.
Yeah, same
so,
guy.
So did his portrayal of Kirk, was it any better, or was it still not very Kirk-like at all?
I think it's improved, but
Okay.
he's no William Shatner.
No. Okay.
It's growing on me. I mean, it's getting better, or it's growing on me, or both. I at first I'm like, who is this guy? He's too young and too strange. But it seems to be working a little bit. I don't know why, and I can't put my finger on it, but I'm liking it. I'm cautiously liking it.
I would prefer Chris Pine's portrayal from Beyond over this Kirk.
Yeah.
I kind of wish his hair was a little more blonde too, just a tad.
Maybe a toupee. Yeah.
You never get Chris Pine to appear on a series rather than a movie, though.
No.
No.
Not unless he was contractually obligated or he was really hard up for money. He wouldn't even come back for a fourth Star Trek movie.
Yeah, I think you'll like it, Mr. President. If you haven't watched it yet, it's maybe wait for. You can even binge watch a few of them now because only about there's 4 or 5 of them out for this season. You can catch up, and it's not bad. Like it's getting better, and that's something I haven't said in a long time. Discovery was rough. That was a rough watch, man. I watched it, but it's like, oh God, it's like my brain hurt after watching that show, and my brain's not hurting now. I'm still getting annoyed at little things like I mentioned just now, but not to the level that I was with Discovery or even the earlier Picard seasons 1 and 2.
Okay.
So it feels like Star Trek again.
I hated season 1 because of the Gorn. The Gorn were not the Gorn.
Yeah. I guess they need some kind of alien, right? I guess they played the Klingons out and they need something a little different. That's in that time frame. They need some kind of,
create something new because they're not supposed to meet the Gorn for a while yet.
Right. The Metrons have to deal with them, right? With Kirk.
But the Tholians would make a good adversary because when we first met the Tholians, they already had a reputation within Starfleet.
Yeah,
that's true, Darren. That's a good idea.
And the Vulcans knew of them, right?
And they're much easier to do in CGI because they're friggin' spider crystals. I mean, geometric shapes.
I mean, we can go way back into the original series and pick a bunch of the aliens that were, brought over, right? The Lights of Zetar. You can just pick one. The First Federation. We never saw anything about them anymore. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can go back, these little one-off episodes, pick a bad guy and make a whole story arc about him. But,
but the writers of Stranger Worlds are too lazy to do.
Oh.
Yeah.
The one thing that's also important to notice is that just because the crew of the Enterprise, they encounter something that they've never encountered before, that doesn't mean that another crew didn't already encounter it too. Like the whole Gorn thing.
The whole what thing, sir?
The whole Gorn thing, for example.
Yeah.
I don't know that you can say that Captain Kirk was the first person to ever see a Gorn. So, based on the dialogue in Arena. I don't know.
Well, Spock says there were just rumors.
Okay.
I also remember that Spock scanned them and he did not recognize them.
Gotcha.
Which is a big problem.
Which, yes, and that might be why the Gorn from Strange New Worlds are so different. He didn't recognize them as Gorn. Who knows? But I mean, it's just, we're trying to make sense of it when we really shouldn't be. We should just be saying, okay, this is a reimagining, a reboot. They're doing their own thing. They left a mechanism for that in the Khan episode. So,
wasn't there a Gorn in Enterprise, in the Mirror Universe or something?
In the Mirror Universe,
right?
There's
I
no
remember
crossover
that.
there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and there was a Gorn skeleton, a proper Gorn skeleton in Lorca's ready room on Discovery in the first.
Oh, that I missed. I didn't catch that part. Okay.
But
fortune cookies.
but like the tribbles, right? Nobody on the Enterprise had ever heard of a tribble, but that didn't mean other people hadn't heard of tribbles. You know, that's
we
another
saw a
example.
tribble in Enterprise.
Yes, we did. Phlox knew how to take care of it too. He only had one, and he's like, "You cannot feed this thing very much at all. He's like, otherwise we'll have problems." You know.
Yeah, but Discovery doesn't count at all. It's just puke.
It's just hard. It's hard to watch. It just hurts. You know, it's just painful. Even the movies I can take, but you start watching this, it's like, oh, you know, it just hurts. But this, I think you'll like it. It's obviously some continuity issues, and we can go on and on about that. But if you can just suspend that a little bit, you can push that to the side of your brain. Try to ignore some of the continuity mistakes. They're trying to make a show that is going to appeal to people like us, I think, are fans of Star Trek, this episodic thing. And this pains them to do that. They don't want to write episodic. They want to write big story arcs, serial. That's the style now. Everybody wants that. And they're doing it.
Well, the other thing, I mean, getting back to Discovery briefly, more so to me than all of the continuity problems that show, you know, had, was just the fact that they were trying to push on us a female lead that they told us was the first black female lead in Star Trek, which of course was not the case. I mean, yes, she was the first black and female lead, but you know, both of those ceilings had already been broke earlier by Cisco and Janeway. But the other thing was that they didn't know how to make a good character. She and people aren't wrong when they called her a Mary Sue, you know, and men would just immediately get stupid around her so she could look even smarter. That was another thing that would happen all the time.
And
We didn't know we didn't know the names of any of the other bridge officers in the first season and that's how poorly written it was, because in much better written, much better executed pilots, we knew we knew the names of every crewman on the bridge before the end of the first episode. We did. And it wasn't until the beginning of the second season that we found out that that's, you know, Lieutenant Reese, that's, you know, Washakun and Detmer and whatever that other gal was, the robot looking one. You know,
because Pike told him to tell him their names.
Right.
That's season 2 already.
They didn't, and that's a huge trope, having a new person on the boat so that they're not telling Pike their names, they're telling the officers or the audience their names through Pike. And that's a thing that often works, especially for an episode where, you know, like somebody has to come in and explain to Chief Engineer, you know, Geordi why the research team needs a generator that generates, you know, a certain amount of energy, and then he figures, oh, they need a duct blind for their, you know, hologram generator. Okay, gotcha. And that's like what, you know, in Who Watches the Watchers, that was one of the things right in the beginning that they did. Geordi should already have known that. Geordi should have already known that, but they had to have him come on the bridge and ask the questions so that the rest of the crew could answer it for the audience. And it's okay to do that once in a while for a little thing like that, but you do it too much and the characters start looking stupid. And I think that these writers didn't know how to let their audience know what these characters' names were in the first season. I honestly think they didn't know how to do that and make Michael Burnham the number one thing.
I think Brian Fuller, who originally created Star Trek Discovery, lost control of the show very early on. I think his vision for it was extremely different than what we got. Some of the premises were there. Maybe Michael Burnham, maybe her being Spock's stepsister. You know, maybe some of the key founding, because Sarek was a big part of season 1. So I think some of that was there, but it got hijacked. You can easily tell, and that's why it got muddled and it went off the rails. Yeah,
Brian Fuller wasn't the only guy there. They actually had Nicholas Meyer for a little while.
So there you go.
Mm-hmm.
And
that would have brought some continuity to the universe, right? At that point, with him.
And he left and had to sign. Obviously, anybody who came out of that project, if they left, they had to sign non-disclosure agreements. But there's going to come a time
We'll
when
never
those
know.
non-disclosure agreements will come due. They'll expire, and then we're going to find out all the shit that we all suspected happened.
What was it
back
really
there.
supposed to be? Right. What was the original premise? What was the original?
I can tell you what the original premise was supposed to be. It was supposed to be an anthology series where each season took place in a different era of Star Trek. That was what the original premise was, and that's what they even said in science fiction magazines and online. And then, but that was in its very early pre-production infancy, and as soon as Nicholas Meyer and Fuller left the project, they got real hush hush. Right? They tried to throw those comments about it being an anthology series down the memory hole, and then we got what we got.
Yeah, it was rough. Brad had a good comment here too. He said, "What about the Breen as a possible, foil for the Enterprise under Pike? That's not a bad idea either. I mean, they're there. That's a large or somewhat large empire nearby the Federation. At that time."
The only thing I didn't like about the Breen was they sounded like Cylons when they talked. And they had these refrigeration suits. Everybody thought that their planet was very cold. Actually, it's not. So the mystery of why they wear refrigeration suits is something that Deep Space Nine seeded, but we never got a payoff on that.
Well, we never heard Morn talk, and we never saw a Breen, so that's it.
Yeah. Well, apparently Morn, according to all the characters, wouldn't shut up, but we never saw him talk. He only talked off camera. It's kind of like that that's another thing that Deep Space Nine really did well. Everybody talked about this captain named Captain Baudet, who had a transparent skull. You could see his brain. They never showed that guy.
Never saw him. Just heard about him. Yep.
Yeah, just heard about him. He had a reputation. He dated all the women on the
definitely a ladies' man.
And at one
kind of
point,
like Neris on Frasier.
Something like
you never saw her.
Or
you never saw her? Wait. I didn't watch Frasier to the end. You're saying she was talked about but never shown the whole series of Frasier?
Yeah, they never showed. They got to a point where the description of her was so incredibly skewed. You couldn't find anybody to play the role that would fit the descriptions.
That's funny. Because we knew Lilith, obviously, from Cheers, but I didn't know we never met Maris. That's funny.
Okay. Because, the Worf was even jealous of Captain Baudet at one point. And this is a character that had existed totally in the mind of the audience. That's what I loved about it. That was, in terms of visually. And then they tried to do the same thing with NX-01's chef. And that's one of the reasons why I absolutely hated the final episode, was because all of a sudden everybody's like, "Oh, Riker's the chef." I'm like, no, Riker was not the chef. He was standing in the holodeck program as the chef, but the chef didn't look like Riker, most likely. But everybody, now when you look up in Memory Alpha, you look up the article, the chef. There's a picture of Riker as the chef. We're meeting Doe in the galley, which we never freaking saw either until the final episode. That really bothered me, because I always wondered where they got their food. Where's this food coming from? They don't have replicators. They've got protein resequencers. We heard there was a hydroponic bay somewhere on board. Couldn't have been big enough to sustain all those people. So what are they doing?
Well, the way they built that galley was interesting. They had the plates and stuff go through the wall, right? There was like a pass, basically, where like Trip would grab a plate of food, but that came from the other side of the kitchen, right? There was like a window there.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what that's from. A lot of the design work on Enterprise was inspired by the 1950s as opposed to the 1960s with TOS. That was how they suggested this was earlier than TOS. They said, okay, TOS looks like 60s sci-fi. Let's try to make retro 50s sci-fi. That's why everything is
clever,
shiny, bright work. And their galley was an automat. That's what it was.
The automats and the big vending machine. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, big vending machine restaurants is what they were. People prepared unpackaged food and stuck it in the slot. You put a coin in the slot, you turn the crank, you open the window, you pull whatever's in there out. And that was essentially what they were doing. And only the drink machine was a replicator. And it replicated something, and I think it was probably very limited. It could only make coffee, or you could make coffee any way you wanted it, but you stuck your mug in it, you told it what you wanted, and it filled your cup with whatever you asked for. So yeah, interesting stuff. But continuity wise, right? Like here's a question I can't remember who it was who told me about this, but okay, yes or no? The quarters on the Defiant had replicators in them.
Oh, wait a second.
True or false? True or false?
I didn't see any.
I would say false.
Did you say quarters or quarters?
In the two-man quarters on the Defiant, because they had bunk beds, everybody had to share a room with somebody else, except the captain, presumably. Were there replicators in those rooms?
There was a computer in there. There was a display of a screen of some sort. I remember that. And then there could have been a little drink replicator on the bottom, but we never saw it used. So I don't know if we can even answer that question.
There were replicators for one episode, and because
Defiant.
in the Defiant, because Major Kira was confined to quarters because there was no, I don't think there was a brig at the time on the Defiant, and she sabotaged the replicator in those quarters to sabotage the ships, like power grid or whatever.
Yeah, the episode Defiant.
And never again did they say that there was food replicators. In fact, at one point they established the only food replicator on this ship is in what they called the mess hall, which should have been called the crew's mess, which made
that's
sense.
What I remembered.
Yeah. If you wanted to eat, you had to go to that room where there was the replicator and get in line behind the replicator to use the replicator, and then sit down on those unmoving benches. Those tables, kind of like they were kind of like the tables at a McDonald's play place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They didn't. They had stools and eat, and then you had to go. And your room was for sleeping. It wasn't for you had a terminal there, one terminal for two people.
Right.
So if you wanted to watch something, or whatever, you could entertain yourself that way. But that was
send a message to somebody or whatever. Yeah.
But you know what they but there's a theory going around that the Defiant got redesigned and remodeled, very early on. Like it had a shuttle bay, a drop-down shuttle bay, at one point, right underneath where you would expect the bridge to be. But there just wasn't enough room there. And
the Defiant did have shuttle pods of sorts. They were smaller and they did drop down, I think, right?
It had one. There was and it was it. The one shuttle pod, and they got rid of it. And that's where they put when the Defiant was laying mines, that was where O'Brien was, setting up and then deploying the mines from.
Yeah,
they totally redesigned that because they realized that that if it's that small, it probably doesn't have a shuttle pod. It has escape pods. We know that because they showed them all shooting out of the Defiant as it was getting blown up. But and that makes sense. But a ship that small should have a shuttle pod or shuttle craft or anything.
There's been some chatter too online about if getting back to Strange New Worlds, if the Enterprise is going to start looking more like the original Connie that we know. Are they going to refit it? Because if you look at it, it looks kind of like almost dirty now. If you look at it, it looks aged. It looks really worn out, this Enterprise. Are they going to maybe go for a refit, straighten the nacelles out, lose some windows, and make it look like the 1960s Constitution? I don't know. That's just dreaming. That's dreaming, obviously. But
I don't think they're going to do that, but they could explain it, because I think the ship is way bigger. It has to be way bigger because it's nowhere near as cramped. It looks more spacious to me than what we saw in TNG, and we know how big that ship was supposed to be.
Yeah.
So again, their version of 10 forward, right?
Just call it a reboot and just be done with it.
You could do that, but let's say, for example, they enter into a Cold War with the Klingons, which we know that the TOS sort of took place in. What if they refit the ship and made it look like Kirk's?
Right.
I can kind of see that, because what they'll do, and what their AI would do, is look at the motion picture and say, well, look how different that refit was. We can make our ship any way we want, and then refit it into what they saw in TOS, because we've seen them do it again with TMP.
And the only reason it's interesting is because if you look at Star Trek Picard season 3, the USS New Jersey is original Constitution. So, and that's supposed to be the same world as this, right? So, something's going on.
Supposedly.
Yeah, supposedly.
Yeah.
The problem with the refit of the Enterprise is that the Enterprise looked the same in the cage and in Where No Man Has Gone Before.
That's true. With the bigger dish, and the spikes coming out of the nacelles, right?
A bigger bridge dome too.
Yeah,
it was more pronounced, and it had the little like erect nipples on the. I don't know what else to call them on the ram scoops.
Ram scoops. Yeah.
But you're right, John. That's a problem. I think the easiest solution is just to say, look, it's in an alternate reality. They've already established that they exist.
Klingon time crystals. Hello.
With the Toronto episode. The episode they shot in Toronto, which they shoot every episode in Toronto. I'm talking about. Actually took place in Toronto. I think with that episode,
I thought it was a good episode. I kind of liked it.
And moving Khan out of the so that he's a child 30 years after he was supposed to have left Earth as an adult, is also part of that.
Yeah, they tried to address that too with that Romulan saying, "I waited 30 years for this," or 30 years later. She tried to cover that up, but I mean, yeah.
And this was supposed to happen in 1992, she said.
Where's Colonel Green? Where is he during all this, right?
Colonel Green.
Remember from he was one of the Earth's big bad eugenics war generals or something? Or World War III. Yeah. Remember the episode where there was Abraham Lincoln and there was what was it? A Vulcan.
Kalas.
Yeah, there was Kalas, and then there was
Surak,
and then there was Colonel Green, right? Or Major Green? It was Colonel Green. Yeah.
And President Lincoln.
And President Lincoln, of course. That was a good one. Well, those rock people, they could be the bad guys, right? With the little clicky fingers, and that's it. They could be the number one bad guys.
I actually wouldn't mind seeing a Mugatu on this
right?
show, because they could make a pretty good looking. I mean, they'll probably redesign it a little bit, obviously, but a gorilla. Don't put a guy in a suit like they used to. Just give us a CG Mugatu that looks. It's
who was the Mugatu? I can't remember the.
Yeah, Terra Prime's.
That's right. Getting back to. Good old Peter Weller there. You're right.
Weller, yeah.
He basically the same. Colonel Green. Yeah.
He basically played the same guy in 2 Star Trek productions.
I know, that was crazy.
Enterprise.
Bad Admiral.
I still call him Admiral RoboCop.
Yeah. Actually, but he was good in both those roles, though. I mean, he's a good actor. You got to give him credit. He was good. I like that.
I had a professor back in the 90s at university one of my English professors who said that he would stand by this. He thought RoboCop was the greatest science fiction film of all time.
Yeah.
And he made a very strong case for it. So he was and I didn't challenge him on it. I agree. I agree. It's a pretty good movie. It's a nearly perfect movie in terms of pacing and such, but you can tell no one's ever been able to top it.
Yeah.
It's not like there was a RoboCop sequel that was better than it. The way Terminator had a better sequel than. Yeah, I want one of those. I want to
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah, find a way to get
That's
like the old
Mugatu.
Peter Jackson. Yeah, find a way to get an old Peter Jackson King Kong CG model they used, and just put a great big horn on it and color it white and have it running around. You know.
What
You know,
episode was that in?
A Private
that
Little
is
War.
in the Private Little War, which I just saw for the first time a couple of weeks ago.
Was it great?
And
Really?
that woman in that thing was hot.
I don't remember that.
There's a lot of TOS episodes that I always skip over because I only like to watch the ones I like, you know. And there's a couple that I maybe have watched the first 10 minutes. I'm like, this is not grabbing me, and I'd switch to the next one. Private Little War was one of them, but then I saw a channel do a review of it, and they were and the two guys were like, what was the point of this episode? And because and all it was to demonstrate the problem of the Vietnam War on television. That's all it was. And at the end, you know, Kirk and Bones just beam off the planet and move on, you know. And it left the guys who were reviewing it, they showed like their reactions as they're watching the end, and they're just like, they're both like shrugging their shoulders and going, what you know, what was this? And it was one of those things where you had to have been aware of current events at the time it was first broadcast to actually get what they were doing.
Yeah, fair enough.
And when I saw that, I watched it myself, and I got completely what they were talking about. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, I remember the line of Bones saying to Cuckoo that a war that went on year after bloody year after bloody year.
Yeah, the Indo-Chinese Bush Wars of the late 20th century, and that was how they what they called Vietnam back. They were referencing Vietnam. And
Indochina is Vietnam. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
but I can't remember the Mugatu in it. That's weird.
Well, the Mogado is, I think, the reason why Spock was not in the episode. I mean, he was in the episode, but he wasn't on the planet with Kirk. And I think he got injured by the Mogado, and then they beamed him up. And this was also the first time we saw Dr. M'Benga in the original series. He was treating Spock, and McCoy gave assurances to Kirk that M'Benga could take care of Spock in McCoy's absence because he had interned on Vulcan and knew a lot about Vulcans.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I think it was the only time we ever saw M'Benga on TOS. But he was definitely a junior. He was definitely a junior doctor under McCoy too.
He was in one other episode later on.
Oh, he was. Okay, good. Right.
Which one?
I'll have to figure.
I believe it was That Which Survives.
Okay.
All right, I'll probably watch that tomorrow then.
But it was a different actor, though. I think
Wasn't
they had two different actors for that the same role, right? Yeah.
Didn't think so.
I think it was the same actor.
Was it the same guy? Okay.
I still think it's funny that they got Blackula to play, you know, Richard Daystrom. Of course, he wasn't Blackula yet. He did Daystrom first, and then was Blackula later. But
right,
you know, he had that awesome voice, though.
I am great. You are great.
Booker Bradshaw played him in TOS.
Okay.
Both times.
Oh, speaking of actors, last night they were saying that Harvey Bennett passed away. On the news, the crooner, and to look at him, Tony Bennett, not Harvey Bennett, sorry, Tony Bennett. He was a crooner, lounge singer, and to look at him, I thought that must be the guy they got to play Vic Fontaine on Deep Space Nine, but because he looked almost identical, but then I had to look up the actor that played Vic Fontaine, and it was somebody different, but I could have.
James Darren.
Yeah, I could have sworn that this guy was a spitting image.
They do look somewhat similar.
Yeah.
You know, one of my favorite admirals ever on the original Star Trek was Admiral Stone from court martial. He was played by Percy Rodriguez, who in his later years made a heck of a lot more money doing voiceovers for movie trailers. If you go on YouTube and you're able to find if you go on YouTube and you're able to find the original trailer for Jaws, he is the guy doing the voiceover, and he had such a serious voice, you know.
You mean Commodore Stone? You said Admiral Stone.
Oh, he probably was a Commodore.
He's the one that said you draw a General Court and Kirk says draw it, I demand it. That guy. Yeah.
But his voice and his diction are so awesome in the Jaws trailer, the original Jaws teaser. It's just a teaser, not the full blown trailer. They show the camera under the water moving through the weeds and stuff, and he's like, you know, it is as though God created the devil and gave him Jaws. And then they show the logo. You know? He's such a great voice actor. Yeah, you should do a video on him, John. Just have a compilation of him on Star Trek and then all the trailers he's ever done. Like the little pieces of it. I'm just spitballing there, John. Don't listen to me.
Did he ever play any other role in Star Trek, or was it just that?
Not on Star Trek. He was on the Planet of the Apes show, I believe. Played an ape.
Okay.
Yeah, he was on the episode "The Tyrant."
There was I didn't realize there was a TV show of that. I thought there was just a movie with Charlton Heston.
Okay, understand that in the 70s, there was no. If you ask somebody what was the number one television sci-fi franchise of the 1970s, it's a toss-up. Because the movies, the Planet of the Apes movies were so, you know, hot shit, you know, especially after the first one in 1969. They did make a television show which was loosely based on the movies, but it was a slightly different continuity, you know. But you know, you could say it's the Planet of the Apes. You could say it was Space 1999, even though that only lasted, I think, 2 seasons. The big one I would suggest, though, is the $6 Million Man and the Bionic Woman, because that lasted years between the two of them, and you know, it was a lighter science fiction, though. It wasn't a heavy science fiction like Space 1999 or Planet of the Apes. It was it was a cybernetic, about cybernetic people working for the government, so it was,
right, solving mysteries, things like that.
Yeah. Or once in a while they'd have something like a bionic Bigfoot and hippie aliens.
Well, that's classic when he fought Bigfoot. That's television history right there. Okay, I mean
that was amazing. When that first aired, everybody watched that.
Everybody watched that one, right?
I was a kid. I have primal childhood memories of Andre the Giant throwing Lee Majors around in the woods.
Right, that's right.
And then the sad thing was that Andre only played the Sasquatch robot in the first appearance, and then subsequent appearances he was played by Ted Cassidy, the future voice of the Incredible Hulk.
Oh, okay.
And then a distant relative of mine, Lindsay Wagner, ended up being the Bionic Woman. And
that's right. She was great in that one. Yeah.
Yeah. For a while there, she had higher ratings than Steve Austin did. So.
Really? That's interesting. I mean, they had a lot of crossovers too. Then they actually got married, right? Then they had the Bionic Dog.
Well, that was in the TV movies that came out like a decade later.
True, in the 80s, right?
In the 70s, an interesting thing happened too. Originally, both shows were on ABC, but then for some reason, ABC didn't want to renew Bionic Woman, so NBC took it. So you had episodes that would start on one network that they would say to be continued later this week on the Bionic Woman.
They cross over literally,
and you literally had to tune into a totally different channel of the big three networks to see it.
That's unusual.
That was I think the final season of Bionic Woman was on NBC that way, and they did a lot of crossovers. So, yeah.
Wow.
I think I've only seen. I have vague memories of my childhood of seeing the. It must have been the TV movies that you're talking about because
Yeah.
I was born in '83, so unless they were
Probably.
rerunning the '70s ones.
I mean, they were on
Yeah.
reruns for a while, at least here in the States. The more, to tell you the truth, I think the Bionic Woman was more reran, at least from what I remember, than the $6 Million Man, at least later on. But they were both reran a lot. And then there was some movies, like you said. But Universal just cranked out so many great TV shows back then. If you go back, I mean, Kojak, Banachek, what do you call it? The Rockford Files, 18, Knight Rider, Airwolf.
Rockford.
Yeah, these are just one show after the other. Columbo, all the Columbo episodes or TV movies that they were. They weren't really a show. It was more like a collection of TV movies. They were just a powerhouse back then. Everything they cranked out was just, great. Oh, The Fall Guy, too. Even after Lee Majors left $6 Million Man, right? That was a good show.
That one I never got into.
He was a stunt man, right? He solved crimes, solved mysteries with his pickup truck. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
He was also the one who gave, I think, Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, her first like network television appearance. Like she had been on public access television in California for a couple of years, and he actually had her guest star as Elvira on that show a couple times,
starring as herself.
We know why we tuned in. It wasn't exactly to look at her face,
But they produced so much television back then. That studio, it was just amazing, and it's still fun to watch today. I have the Cozy TV or the Me TV stations we have now, and you can watch those old shows and appreciate them all over again. It's fun.
Well, I'm sorry, but a lot of them are better written than Discovery and
question.
SNW. I mean, they were actually able to make you care about characters without having any of the characters do anything scandalous on television. I mean,
they were fun.
And you had actually like even the sitcoms, they were actually funny.
Yep.
Except when they weren't trying to be funny, and it was very deliberate. And I mean, everybody remembers All in the Family, right? This, which was a cutting edge show at the time, but then there's every once in a while they'd have a serious episode, and when it got serious, and those actors and writers knew how to switch gears like that for one episode. It was they could not do that today.
And you said earlier that you hadn't really watched all the original series. I encourage you to savor those shows now, because compared to the writing we're getting, lately, although it's getting a little bit better, savor them. Enjoy them. Take it all in again, because it's worth it.
I'm sorry, I'm McCast. I would say that every week I want to smash my television.
Now there are some shows that I think are legit trash from yesteryear. I will not watch an episode of the Dukes of Hazzard, for example.
Just some good boys.
It's formula television. I know exactly what's going to happen at the bottom half of the hour. I know exactly what's going to happen 5 minutes before the credits. And it's because it was the same show structurally every week, except for a rare, But I will at least look at Daisy Duke. I love watching the General Lee, because they crashed like hundreds.
They did. They destroyed so many Chargers.
Of Chargers. I love it when they show the car jumping over Crawdad Creek, right? Which it did
California
3 or 4 times a season, and it would land, and you clearly saw that car's frame broke, but then Bo and Duke just keep on driving. It's like,
I mean, Knight Rider did the same thing. They busted so many cars during that show. But I'll give you a metaphor. It's like there's a time for steak and there's a time for meatloaf. And Dukes of Hazzard, it's comfort. It's comfort when you watch it. You don't have to think too hard. You just kind of take it all in. You can drink a beer. You can watch TV as you're doing it. I mean,
sometimes you don't want filet mignon. Sometimes you want a greasy cheeseburger.
There you go, man.
What you're hungry for. Yeah. Columbo. I've actually kind of got. I never watched Columbo when I was a kid or
Great
young
series.
when it was on, and now I've actually started watching it. I'm like, oh, it's clever how they did it. I also like seeing all the heavyweights when they were younger.
All the actors, all the guest stars they had in
the
that
guest
show.
stars. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And it was
Well, you always knew
that
who
show.
did it.
Yeah,
It was the big star.
Yeah.
Bill Shatner was in at least one or two of those, wasn't he? Leonard
Mhm.
Nimoy was in one.
Yep.
He played a doctor.
Oh.
Leonard Nimoy played like an evil doctor.
Yeah.
And
The Incredible Hulk show was also a show in which it was formula. Lou Ferrigno would show up at the bottom half of the hour, and then again 5 minutes
Right.
before the credits roll. And the rest of it was all Bill Bixby. But I love seeing actors like Kim Cattrall on that show back when she was like in her like 21 years old, and or just a number of actors. I mentioned Bionic People earlier. Sandra Bullock's first big break was playing a bionic girl in one of those reunion movies on NBC in the 80s.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That was her first thing. She was like 19
as a
or
child,
something.
though, right? I was gonna say, yeah, she must have been young.
Yeah, she was she was 19. Yeah, she was a professional gymnast who got injured, and they replaced a bunch of her stuff. And yeah,
good times.
Nobody knew who she was back then.
I never got to see Dukes of Hazzard or Columbo. I've never seen them. I know that Dukes of Hazzard is about a car and all the shenanigans that got up to the car, but what was Columbo about?
Columbo was a murder mystery show, but it was a 2-hour format. I guess it was, right? It was like it was a 2-hour movie of the week kind of format.
I think the series was 1 hour though. I think that.
Oh, was it 1 hour? I'm sorry. Oh, the series
went
was.
To see it.
That's true. But it was where he's a murder investigator. He's a homicide detective, Lieutenant Columbo, and he would solve murders. But the guest stars were amazing. The bad guys were always played by a pretty impressive guest star that was elaborate. They always stage these elaborate murders, and they try to get away with it. And Columbo would solve it, and he'd play kind of stupid and play ignorant. And
you are correct. You are correct. The running time of a Columbo episode went from 73 to 98 minutes.
Yeah, I thought it was a 2-hour. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you are correct. I stand corrected. It was a series of TV movies, and it went on for 10 seasons.
Yep. But you can watch all those now.
They're very good.
Yeah. But his signature thing was he would come off like some kind
bungling,
of addled, like an addled, old man, and that would make people feel overconfident, and then they'd tell him something that would mess him up later,
Yeah.
And that was his whole thing. His whole shtick was people would underestimate him because he was such an odd looking guy.
He was disheveled with the raincoat and the old French car and the cigar smoking. He looked like a mess, but the guy was a genius, and he would trick you and solve the murder.
Well, okay. Dukes of Hazzard was actually heavily inspired by a 1975 movie called Moonrunners, where you had it had the exact same formula of two cousins and an Uncle Jesse type character and a Boss Hogg character, and it was about them running moonshine. But of course, they didn't run moonshine on Dukes of Hazzard. They had to have them do some other things that were outlawish instead, and I can't remember what some of them were. But
good night, Brad.
Good night.
See you, Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah, good times. But if you ever can watch Columbo, those are definitely worth watching. I mean, Dukes of Hazzard is probably a little bit different kind of category, but if you could catch a few of those episodes, they're readily available, at least in the States here. I think it's on either it's Peacock or it's on Hulu or one of the major streaming platforms it's on right now.
The Dukes is an acquired taste.
That's more. That's your meatloaf right there. That's just comfort food. But yeah,
that's leftover meatloaf.
Leftover meatloaf.
That's a pretty good analogy.
That's good. I like that.
But it's worth about as much as watching old episodes. It's worth about as much as watching old episodes of Dallas today.
Yeah.
Dallas was culturally impacted because of that famous cliffhanger that they ended on, which TV shows back then especially existed in what writers call rubber band reality, which means you can stretch that rubber band as far as you want, but at the end of the episode, it has to go back to its original length, so that the next writer has a clean slate to start his, to do his little story. So, so you can't actually kill JR. And that was the thing. Everybody thought, oh, is everything going to change on Dallas now? No, nothing was going to change. Nothing was ever going to change. Larry Hagman was a huge star on that show. He was, he happily signed contracts. When something actually changed on an episode, it was or on a show back then, it was usually because something happened backstage, but off screen, that messed everything up. A great example of that was Valerie, the show Valerie on NBC. It was Valerie Harper, I believe. Valerie Harper.
You mean Rhoda? You mean from?
Yeah, I think she played Rhoda on
Mary Tyler Moore. Yeah,
right. And she had a show on NBC where it was a family sitcom, and at the end of the first season, she had a falling out with everybody backstage, and so they brought it back as, in the second season, I believe, as Valerie's Family. They changed the title of it, and they established that Valerie had died of cancer the previous year. So they killed her off, right, which hadn't been ever done before. So that was a huge change. And then the third season, they brought in Sandy Duncan and her glass eye, and they changed the name of the show again to the Hogan Family. That's
I remember that. Wow, you're really going back now.
Yeah, that's when changes actually happened.
Jason Bateman was on that show, or
I think so,
who else? Yeah, there was. Oh my God, they did get rid of her. You're right, she was in, and then they got rid of her. That's funny. Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah. So and now, I mean, it wasn't until a show like The Sopranos, where any character could die at any time, that we started getting into this kind of stuff. Where it's the premium television shows like The Sopranos and Game of Thrones and what's it called, Breaking Bad, stuff like that, Mad Men. There were characters dying on the show, and it wasn't, it was, and they had to keep it secret, because they had huge fan bases.
The Walking Dead, obviously, right? They got
Walking
killed
Dead,
off.
obviously, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that was a relatively new thing for especially network television back then. And back then it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Not in the 80s or the 90s.
No.
That's one of the reasons why Tasha Yar's death was so weird.
Yeah.
Because again, falling out backstage was something. She wanted out of her contract. She wanted off the show, and so they killed her off and brought her back a couple times as something else. And also, Gates McFadden wasn't there for the second season because of a falling out. They didn't write her off the show as a death, though.
No, they just didn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I see what Denise was talking about, because I didn't understand for many years why she was complaining so much. But I did rewatch season 1 a few times already, and you're right. She was just standing there, not doing anything for so many episodes, just nothing. She even said you could put a cardboard cutout of me, and it would have been the same thing.
Mannequin legs behind
her legs behind Picard, right? Yeah.
Well, because Roddenberry pulled her into her office. She went into Roddenberry's office, and he said, "Look, this show is going to be about Riker, Picard, and Data, because that's kind of what the original series was, and that's what Roddenberry wanted to do, was essentially try to do that. And that's one of the reasons why Roddenberry lost control of the show, is because he tried to make a 60s show in the 80s. But but Tasha Yar was a mess of a character. If you see her behavior,
there was some good stuff there. There was still some good stuff. Right. Imagine she just didn't know. They all thought they were going to be canceled anyway. But imagine if she would have stuck it out, actually. They could have developed her character a lot.
Ensign Rowe was basically Tasha Yar 2.0 when she was introduced.
Like a misfit. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Came from a rough upbringing, kind of. Right. Although Tasha was more of a dedicated officer. Like, she dedicated herself to Starfleet. you know,
she was
Ro
not.
was,
Yeah, she was thankful. But I mean, that scene I just in the Naked Now where she's swaggering into engineering and grabs this pathetic little blue shirt guy and just and like a man to a girl like kisses him aggressively, like almost like a dude would. I didn't care for that.
That's the Naked Now. You can't judge them on the Naked Now. It's
terrible episode, but it is the only episode. It is the episode of TNG in particular, and probably all of Star Trek until Lower Decks that had the most naked people in one shot. When Geordi was in that room that had where everybody froze to death.
Yeah,
there were all these. Yeah, they were all naked.
Huh. Now, this begs the question.
I got a screenshot here. This won't get you into trouble, John. I'm sorry, this won't get you into trouble, but I'll look for it. Go ahead.
This begs the question, though. If Denise stuck it out and stayed as Tasha Yar, I wonder how much less Worf would have been developed at that point.
Well, that's the trouble is that Worf and Tasha Yar were essentially doing the same sort of role, which didn't really work. There wasn't room enough for both of them.
Right. They moved Geordi into engineering, which I thought was the best thing for that character.
Smart.
And honestly, I thought that having Worf be the tactical officer made a lot of sense. So yeah.
So what would have happened? Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
What would have happened? I think that Worf would have probably left the show eventually as a character.
Maybe, but they could have had a tactical officer and a chief of security. They could have two separate roles. They didn't have to be combined, right?
They could have divided it. Yeah, they could have divided it. They could have. There it is. That's the shot that has the most naked people in it. Yeah, huh. and they're all wearing blue frost makeup, but and
they're in Data's quarters. Well, same set anyway. Yeah,
same set. Yeah. Alrighty, I will not.
And that was a set they reused from. I think that was from Star Trek II.
Shit, they reused so many sets. I mean, the operating room where Picard had his heart surgery and Samaritan Snare was literally the battle bridge, and also the room where the courtroom drama for Measure of a Man took place.
They used the battle bridge so much in season 2. It's not even funny. And 3, but 2 a lot, man. They just kept
cover your ears,
Mr.
President. Cover your ears. He doesn't like behind
that?
the scenes stuff.
What do you mean? I'm sorry. He's covering his ears.
It ruins the illusion for him.
Oh, I see. Okay, we're sorry to do that. I didn't mean to.
I was going to list some more, but I guess I won't.
Yeah.
Yeah. One set.
Yeah, we're done.
One set that I don't believe they used ever.
There he goes again. Yep, there he goes. He's covering up again.
Was the Hathaway's engineering set? I honestly don't think that was ever used anywhere else. I know that the warp core was reused for the Defiance warp core. Yes, we're done.
Yeah, we're done. We're done. All right, that's fine.
Oh, Mr. President.
You done it?
Yeah.
Yes, we're done.
Give him a thumbs up or something, guys. I don't know.
I'm good now.
There you go. Yeah, we're good. There you go.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry, Mr. President. I thought they were done before.
Well, I was done.
He didn't think you were done.
Well, he wasn't. He had his ears covered. That's why.
Well, he took his hands off and then he covered them again.
And then he said, "The only shit." So here we go again.
All right.
Why can't I talk about sets? I mean, come on, man. What the hell?
It ruins the illusion for him when something is reused. Then he has to think, "Oh, they're just reusing this set again. It's that other set."
Yeah,
I got
what I was saying was
Yeah.
the only set that again, don't cover your ears. Don't cover your. I'm not spoiling anything.
Okay, so
okay. So the Hathaway's engineering set was not reused anywhere else. I don't think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dan. Sorry.
I think it was, but I won't say it.
Okay.
I won't say it. I'll just keep it to myself.
Yeah.
It was used in the 1960s Twilight Zone episode. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, there you go. That's right. There you go, baby. That would be
okay,
great.
Mr. President. Okay, Mr.
John,
President.
that would be good. Jeopardy is the prize zone.
Mr. President, have you seen the Deep Space Nine episode called I can't pronounce Irma Internum Legis or whatever it was? It was the episode where Bashir went to Romulus.
They reused Voyager thing. That was
right,
awesome.
Which made sense because they were both Intrepid class ships. But you're okay with that, aren't you?
I'm okay with that because that's only a one-off episode. But
yeah, I'd like how they made it look different by putting plants everywhere. That's what one of the thing that I noticed. They put like house plants everywhere, including I think there was a house plant on the bridge. When you see the bridge, when you look past Admiral Ross's door, when somebody comes in his door and you see the bridge behind him, I think somebody put like a floor plant like right in front, right next to where Chakotay would have sat.
Yeah. And they got rid of Neelix's pots and pans too. All that stuff was thrown out, right? That's it.
Yeah,
in the mess hall.
Yeah. Well, that was the captain's personal dining room.
That's true. That's
right.
What Janeway said. You're right. That's right. Yeah. But the I can't even. I don't want to talk about it. But the USS Honshu, when they were transporting Gul Dukat on that episode, right? The corridors they used were not from Voyager, although they probably should have, and I don't know why they didn't. They used the ones from the Defiant because they're real narrow, and this thing was a Nebula class ship, and you see Cisco walking. You see Cisco walking through these corridors. I'm like, wait, you don't see corridors that narrow unless you're on a Defiant. I guess they couldn't. Maybe Voyager sets were being used that day or something, but it's like you were thinking they could have done that, but yeah.
Yeah, let's see here.
But I'm not going to watch TNG for a while anyway because I'm annoyed with Patrick Stewart, so I need to take a break from TNG until I'm over that one day.
Was the Hunch one of your trivia questions in the Japanese ship section tonight, John?
That was the Q shoe.
The Q shoe, right? Yeah.
I was waiting for that question. You bastard! I was like, he's got to mention the Honshu. He didn't mention the Honshu. You mentioned the Yamato, which we expect, but
right.
I knew you were going to mention the Yamato, and that's what I thought the $100 question was, but turned out to be the $200 question. And
well, if you think about it, Kobayashi Maru is going to be the 100.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Definitely. No, that wasn't a criticism, John. I'm just saying. But yes. What else was
the one on Discovery? That was a Chinese name, though. What was that one? The one that that Burnham was first on. That was the. Oh God, what was the name of that ship?
I believe it was the Shenzhou.
Shenzhou. Yeah. That's the one, right?
Shenzhou. Yeah, Shenzhou.
That was the first one.
A blank Discovery from my mind.
Well,
that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Fun fact.
And then Shanghai, that was the other one that Riker was on, right, on Picard. But that was, again, that sounded Chinese, not Japanese, right? I'm thinking, I don't know what language, where that comes from.
I'm saying that, I think that's probably Shanghai. I mean, Chinese. So.
Shanghai.
Many Japanese ships, particularly in the civilian ships, and their names include Maru, not just Kobayashi Maru. Mm-hmm. The term Maru is a divination and represents perfection or completeness. So the ship, has a small world of its own. Basically, is what Maru means. It's based on one of their celestial myths, and so, for example, if you guys remember, about 20 years ago, a submarine called the Greenville collided with a Japanese ship that was an oceanography teaching, basically a floating classroom for oceanography ships. The name of the ship was the Ehime Maru, and so remember that the Starfleet. I don't know that the Kobayashi Maru was a Starfleet vessel. I thought it was a civilian vessel based on the name, but I think in the JJ verse they suggested that it was like a Starfleet supply ship or something.
So what are the ships that went down at Midway? You should know this, right? Come on, the Japanese ones.
Oh, come on!
I knew I could almost remember all of them. They sunk like 5 or 6 of them, didn't they? The Japanese, we sunk them.
The Kagi.
Kagi,
The Soryu, I think it's called.
Soryu, yep.
The Kaga, and there's another one. I think it begins with an H.
Hear you got it. Yep.
Hear you. That's okay. Yep, that's what we
Battle of Midway.
learned about that. Yeah, Battle of Midway. We actually have aircraft carriers and things called Midway, and I've always thought Midway would be a good name for a Galaxy class ship. You know,
yeah.
Along with
why not?
Along with the Ranger. I always like that name too. Aircraft carriers in the American fleet, they have some great names that haven't been used by Star Trek officially that I know of. I don't think there's been a USS Kitty Hawk or a USS Independence in Star Trek, but there's other names that are just as lofty as Enterprise in our fleet that could be used for another series. And if there's anything that Voyager and Deep Space Nine taught us if there's anything that Voyager and Deep Space Nine taught us is that you don't have to have a Star Trek show about a ship called Enterprise. And just
that was that's one of the things that I hate about Enterprise the series is why didn't they call it a different name? Why did it have to be?
Well, okay. They approached Scott Bakula about playing the next captain of the Enterprise. And he says, I don't want to play the next captain of the Enterprise. So they came back to him and said, what if you were the first captain of the Enterprise, of the starship called Enterprise? And then that's what piqued his interest, because they really wanted Bakula as the lead in the next series because he had star power already. And that was part of the deal. I think that a lot of Berman and Braga's original plans for the show before UPN interfered were actually really good, and we would have got a much better show if they had gotten their way. They wanted to wait another year to 2 years before launching the next Star Trek show, but UPN needed a Star Trek show to replace Enterprise, Voyager. The machine, as they say, was moving. And so, there's a lot of things about Enterprise that didn't work for me. They treated it like it was supposed to be an older vessel, but they treated it like Voyager. Again, where does the food come from? Why don't they do stores loads? What do they do to replenish their stock? And that's why I like the fourth season is so much better, because in the fourth season, they're home ported at Earth, and they do all their missions. They leave Earth, go do the mission, come back to Earth. And I think that was the best formula for that show. The idea that they did exploring, but they don't do like these long 5-year missions. I mean, we have no idea how long the NX-01's first mission was supposed to take, but it seemed to be almost like a 5-year mission. They went out, and they weren't supposed to come back. And it's like, no, that ship is dinky. It can't support, that many people, even though there's less of a crew. It's like, and then when Manny Koto came out, and God rest his soul, he just died. He said, look, let's do this instead. It makes more sense for the era and makes TOS more special. You guys were making TOS less special by having a ship from 100 years earlier do essentially the same thing.
And I like the little 3-episode chunks they did, or arcs they did in that fourth season, right? That was good.
Yeah, they struck the perfect formula of having 2 and 3 parters and then a couple of one-offs.
Right, and space it out, and then you go. Yeah, they were.
If the story deserved only 1 episode, they got 1 episode. If it deserved 3, it got 3. I mean, that was great.
I mean, the one with the Klingon with the augment thing. All right, we didn't really need two episodes with that, but it was good. I mean,
I like that. I was really looking forward to season. I was really looking forward to a season 5 where we saw more of those TOS style Klingons.
The augmented Klingons, yeah, okay.
that was so interesting when they had that one in the brig, and you were listening to how the actor talked and how they spoke Klingon, but they spoke Klingon like a human would, you know, and you know, and then we see the military unit that he belonged to, where they were really starting to succumb to the disease, and the female among them was like, you know, she was being told, "But you are Klingon, you are strong." He goes, "Are you sure of that?" Because that disease was also rewiring their brains to make them more human.
Because it was human DNA or human genome, whatever it was.
Superhuman DNA, right? It was overwriting Klingon DNA, and they're like, we are not strong anymore. We are weak like them, you know. And it was, and I wanted to see more of the TOS style Klingons in Ent, and of course we never got that. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I still didn't appreciate Enterprise at the time. I'll admit that freely. And a lot of people didn't, but I didn't appreciate it for what it was. I didn't like it for some reason. The theme song, the way it looked, it didn't carry me. But as I got older, as I got the DVDs, in fact, I bought the DVD sets. This is before Blu-ray and before streaming. I really got to appreciate that series properly. And yeah.
Okay, so about a month or two after I left the Navy, a friend of mine who was still in, who got assigned to the Houston, emailed me and said, "You won't believe who just took a tour of the boat of the Houston." I said, "Who?"
Yeah,
he said,
he said,
Berman and Braga, and he said the next Star Trek show is going to be more like a submarine show. So I, of course, tuned in. But I can tell you that when we got to the episode Shuttle Pod 1, which is often called the best episode of the first season of Enterprise, I stopped. I watched that episode in disgust and quit the show for the rest of the season, because Trip, the chief engineer, in an enclosed environment where oxygen, we were just talking about oxygen earlier, right? Where oxygen is so limited, he lights a candle. For mood, is what he says. For mood, it's like no. If there is one person on board the ship in the crew who wouldn't have done that, it was the chief engineer, and they had the chief engineer do it. And I'm like, no, and I just stopped watching it, because we don't have open flames on submarines for obvious reasons. You know, if you have a waste paper basket fire, it's a ship-wide emergency. I'm serious. They go to the alert status, and we have to, damage control parties have to be deployed, and it's a big freaking deal.
Someone puts a cigarette out in a waste paper basket. That's it. You got to get the whole ship has to go on alert because of that. Wow.
Pretty much, yeah. You have to go to your designated damage control station, and this happened once when I was on board, and the reason why is because you're in an enclosed environment. It's not because you're in the Navy. It's not because you're in Starfleet. It's because you're in an enclosed environment, which is what those ships, especially those shuttle pods, are.
Right.
Yeah.
Submarine, spaceship, anything that's enclosed, compressed oxygen or pressurized cabin, you can't be fooling around with that kind of stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the USS Bonefish suffered a catastrophic fire, I believe, in 1988 or 89. And if you can look that up on Wikipedia, USS Bonefish. And that incident changed the submarine service forever when it came to how they dealt with fires. They don't sleep around. I mean, it's
what happened on the Bonefish?
It got a fire, and 2 people died.
Yeah, but
a yeoman and I don't remember what exactly they said. I think it was it was a electrical arc that caused an explosion.
Okay.
So it wasn't a conventional fire. It was a Charlie class fire, which is when you have sparks and lightning and crap shooting out of a junction box, or it's an electrical fire. So and it touched something flammable, maybe the battery. I can't remember exactly, but the thing is the the Bonefish was not a nuclear submarine. It was one of our last diesel boats, but it wasn't like a World War II era diesel boat. It was a 1960s diesel boat, so it had the teardrop shaped hull. If you looked at it from the outside, you'd think it probably was a nuke, but it wasn't. And and it was scheduled to be decommissioned in 4 years anyway. But when that happened, they decommed it as soon as it came into port. But a lieutenant and a yeoman died in that fire. So.
Really sorry to hear that. That sucks.
What class of sub did you serve on?
Civilians would call it a sturgeon class submarine. We called it a 637 or a sturgeon or a 27 or 37. 637 or a 37, and but the colloquial name is sturgeon class.
Sturgeon. Okay, I know the Seawolves were pretty new back when you were leaving, right? Or they were coming around, and then
they were
LA class were the big boys. Yeah,
they were the mainstay starting at about they replaced the sturgeons as the workhorse of the fleet in the 90s when they started because you have to remember the sturgeons were designed to last 30 years. The Los Angeles class were designed to last 20 years. So you had when we decommed my boat, the Trepang, we were in dry dock being taken apart systematically, but there was a rickety old Los Angeles class that was newer than us in there with us getting decommed as well. The sturgeons were designed to last longer. They could be refueled, which the newer ones couldn't. Los Angeles class boats typically got all the fuel they're ever going to need during construction. Yeah, and then we had several watertight doors, like 6 of them, right? So if one part of the ship started flooding, if
you're not going down,
we could seal off that compartment. The Los Angeles class had one watertight door, so half the boat would be flooded if they did that. So there were some design philosophy differences. The Los Angeles were faster than us. They were quieter at faster speeds than us.
Right.
But there were still some things that the sturgeons could do that the newer ones couldn't. Sturgeons had a hovering system where they would have water flow through. It's complicated, but anyway, they could maintain periscope depth more steady than a Los Angeles was. So we were better for like periscope depth spying. Also, the sail, which is the fairing where all the masts and antennas are on a submarine, the sturgeons had a reinforced sail, so we were better for under ice operation than the Los Angeles was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What year was the Ohio class submarines?
What?
What year had there was a submarine class called the Ohio, wasn't there?
Ohio's were what we call ballistic missile submarines. They have a totally different mission. They're out there designed to carry intercontinental ballistic missiles, the kind that destroy countries. Okay. Yeah. And they would basically, their job was to go take those missiles and hide them for a while out in the water where nobody could find them, and then they'd be called upon to launch them. The whole movie was a terrible movie, but in terms of accuracy. But Crimson Tide was about one of those submarines.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what era were they in?
They were contemporaries with the Los Angeles class. The boats from the mid 70s through the 80s and 90s. They were, so you had ballistic missile submarines, or boomers as we call them, that were named after states, and then the Los Angeles class attack submarines were named after cities.
Yeah.
And later that changed, obviously, with the Virginia class, which was an attack boat. See, the Navy used to have name themes, right? So the only Star Trek ships that I remember that have a name theme are the runabouts, the Danube class
rivers.
runabouts.
Yeah.
They're all named after Earth rivers. So
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons why the runabouts are endeared to me. Although I must say, and I said this in the video, that the California class in lower decks has a name theme, although it doesn't work exactly the same way. The California class are all named after California cities and towns. Right. That's not how Americans structure a class, but that is how the British do it. So, for example, the British Admiral class were all named after admirals. The first ship of the Admiral class was not called the Admiral; it was called the Hood.
Yeah.
So that's how the British do it, and that's apparently how Starfleet does it now in that cartoon.
Yeah, interesting. My apologies for getting attack submarines and
no, it's fine. It's fine. When I was in, there were two types: ballistic missile and attack. Now there's a third type. They took a couple of ballistic missile submarines and gutted their missile bays. So the Ohio class, I think they could carry 18 ballistic missiles, right? Well, they gutted that missile bay, and now they're like Tomahawks. You could put about 250 Tomahawks in that same space.
Cruise
Tomahawks, are cruise missiles. They're designed to just destroy cities, and well, if they're nuclear tipped.
Nuclear tipped,
yeah. But even with a conventional warhead, they're still pretty. You'll destroy a city block, or whatever. But
bunker.
So those are called SSGNs, or submersible ship guided missiles, nuclear. So you have SSBNs, those are the boomers. SSGNs, those are the ones I just talked about. Then SSNs are the attack subs that are designed to sink, primarily shipping.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for explaining it all.
Yeah.
Cool.
But
hey, where's Chief gone? I hope he's okay.
Jeff, I don't know, Jeff.
I'm here.
We can't see your face.
Yeah, I turned off the cam. I turned off.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah. See, I like having the camera off once in a while too. That way I can pick my nose and you can't see it. I can do all kinds of messy
not
shit.
Not that I'm doing anything like that.
No.
Yeah, I believe you. Don't worry.
Well, this has been You're saying, Mr. President? I was going to say this has been a great conversation. Probably going to start winding it down here soon in a few minutes.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll say goodbye then now because I'm the one who talks the most, and that'll help you end the show a lot quicker. I'll see you later, guys.
Take care,
It's always
Darren.
a fascinating conversation, Darren.
I agree.
So we thank you.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Have a good one, Darren. See you.
Thank you.
Take care.
That's it. John, thanks again for the questions for Jeopnerdy. Excellent.
Thank you.
As always.
Yeah, I second that, John.
And we should be back at our usual time next Saturday for Jeopardy.
So what is the usual time? Because 9 o'clock was this time, right?
Yeah, 9 p.m. Eastern.
That is the usual time.
Yes.
Okay.
That is, yes.
Got it. Okay.
And Professor, we're doing a question to track tomorrow.
Yes, 11 a.m. Eastern.
Excellent.
Oh, I'll join in.
That'd be great, Omni.
Absolutely.
A little bit different caliber of questions there.
Okay.
But you're more than welcome to join us.
Love it. It's fun. It's fun to be challenged. I like it.
I want to say thank you again to everyone for joining us, both on the panel or in the chat. And we look forward to seeing you back next week.
Sounds good.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night. Thank you.